The sun rose in the east, and the roofs of the houses turned purple. The lovers, holding hands, looked down at the valley, still plunging into pitch darkness. The young man's eyes sparkled. "Luoxi, tomorrow you will become my wife, and we will be together forever. I will spend the rest of my life with you. It's wonderful." Lashi said mysteriously, "Jia Jen, I have a gift for you." A question appeared in the young man's eyes. "What gift have you prepared for me?" And then a sharp blade flashed. Killua S resolutely plunged the blade into the young man's chest. "Blow, blow, blow again!" Lewis's eyes were cold and determined. Lu J. Jen squealed. Loi didn't stop. Another blow. Jia Jin groaned in pain. "Loi, why did you do this to me? You can't blame me. You have no right to do so." The girl's hand touched Jia Jin, and the young man, losing his balance, began to fall from the roof down into the darkness. Lu called after him, "You have only yourself to blame for what happened." "Why am I not ready? I am not ready to die!" Zhao Jun shouted as he retreated downwards. And then the rising sun illuminated the falling youth. Horror was frozen on his face. He saw the sun in all its glory. A ray of sunlight hit him where Lu had stuck her blade. Blood was oozing from his mouth, and the young man's face was numb with horror. Zhao Jun screamed in his sleep, in his bed. Was it a dream? Jin touched the place where the wound should have been. Cold sweat ran down his face. Where am I now? Am I alive? What's wrong with me? Zhao Jun sat on the edge of the bed, confused. The sound of a door opening was heard. "Jenna, you've finally come to your senses." His mother stood at the door. His mother was scared to death. If something happened to Jenna, she would not survive. "Mom?" A flash of surprise flashed through the young man's mind. He was having a brainstorming session, and steam came out of his face. How is that possible? The true kingdom, the son of a nobleman, a worthless bastard. I was reborn after 300 years. His mother became worried and decided to give him medicine. The woman left her son's room. "It's been 300 years, Luoxi. You've caused me so much pain, I swear by my title of Martial Emperor, if you're still alive, I'll kill you." The young man's eyes flashed with anger, and then a young man entered the room and kicked the door open. "This pile of trash isn't dead yet," he said in amazement. He grabbed Zhao Yan by the throat, deciding to teach him a lesson. John was surprised. "That's right, you're still alive. You're very lucky." Jenner decided that he wanted to kill the young owner of this house. "Ha!" the young man laughed in response. A bunch of trash who, at 15 years old, has not yet awakened their spiritual roots, thinks they can call themselves a young master. Jenna lowered his head. "You are prohibited from taking part in the ceremony that will take place in 3 days. Otherwise," the young man raised his fist above his head and swung it at Jenna. Jenna's hand easily stopped her opponent's attack. "Otherwise what?" Jenna said calmly. The young man was very indignant. "Ha ha!" Jenna grinned. "Is this the best he could do?" "He seeks death. Even after my reincarnation, defeating an insect like you won't be difficult." The young man was seething with rage. He lunged at Jenna, but Jenna grabbed him by the groin and squeezed as hard as she could. It hurt. The young man screamed, tears involuntarily flowing from his eyes. He fell to the floor and began to writhe in terrible pain. "How dare you raise your hand against me, young man?" The young man stood up. The blade flashed as it was drawn from its sheath. "Zhao Qing, no one will save you today for sure." The blade was pointed towards Zhao En. Mother's footsteps were heard. "Xia Yan, what are you trying to do?" Mother warned that if Xiao Yan tried to attack him, she would have to call the elders. "It's definitely not worth it," Xiao Wan thought to himself. He put the blade back into its sheath and decided to deal with the young man after the ceremony. When he left the room, Zhao Yan said, "Aunt Zhao, it's become dangerous outside. I advise you not to let him go alone. Who knows what might happen to him there?" "Why does he walk so strangely?" my mother wondered, looking at the young man. "He must be sick with something." Jur grinned in response. The moon rose. It was a full moon. After his rebirth, all the works of his past life disappeared. Jenner sat and meditated, but the knowledge did not disappear. With his experience, reaching the realm of the Martial Emperor was only a matter of time. A fireball appeared on the young man's fingers. "Show yourself." The ball began to increase in size. A heaven-devouring technique appeared in his hand. "Even though this is a forbidden technique, I have no other choice. Everyone knows that once the spiritual root awakens, nothing can be changed. But with this technique, I can absorb the roots of others and prove my own. In time, my spiritual path will reach the level of true geniuses." Jenna continued to meditate. "BJJ, a black hole appeared in his chest." "Ah," cried Jenner. He fell on all fours in surprise. What is it?" Jenner began to scream. Why is she here? His eyes were burning. When he discovered the heaven-absorbing technique, this energy entered his body. He didn't think that this energy was still in him. Jenner is going through an assimilation phase, and lo and behold, the black hole began to disappear. Perhaps it was thanks to her that he was reborn. He hopes that in the future he will be able to find out what it is. A crane hovered over the training ground. The training did not stop for a second. This is where all the energy of the training is concentrated. There are only 3 days left until the ceremony. Xiaowen squatted on the meditation platform. Behind the young man, there were indignant cries. The crowd was indignant. Why was he here? You are nothing. The shouts turned into insults, becoming louder and louder. How dare you show up here? Get out of here! Jatin, the grandson of the second elder, awakened with a yellow rank root and had already reached the initial stage of the yellow stage. Someone from the crowd began to mock Zhao Qing. You dare to say something in response. I said, get out! The young man was seething with anger. How dare you even talk to me? You must be looking for death. He insulted Jen. The crowd murmured, did they not say that he would remain bedridden for a long time? Take my first blow. A fist flew past his head, but his opponent calmly dodged it. Join turned around. Now it's your turn. Jane's fist struck his opponent's jaw with lightning speed. How so? The astonished crowd shouted. Who are you calling a scumbag? Jiayin said to his crushed opponent. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Stay away from me, the loser begged in horror. It's too late, Juin said coldly. Everyone pays respect to the elder. The elder appeared. He simply adores Xiaowen. Xiaowen grabbed the elder's legs with his hands and began to complain about Zhao Cheng while screaming. If you had come later, I would probably be dead by now. The elder indignantly called Jian Chan a scumbag who wanted to kill the best warrior. The elder decided to teach Jian Chan a lesson, since the great Marcus seemed unable to do so. Everyone around was stunned by the intense pressure that the elder had created. They couldn't do anything about it. So that's it. Is he trying to scare me? Qin Jian was surprised. Jian Qin concluded that the elder could not distinguish truth from lies. This decision of the elder could not be called fair. The elder was surprised that this young man was able to withstand such pressure. Who the hell are you to lecture me? The elder shouted. Jansen decided to fight the elder. In the kingdom of the Tanuans, there are only 6 stages of development: yellow, black, earthly, heavenly, innate, and the stage of exaltation. Only innate stage masters can use voice transmission. But this young man hasn't even awakened his spiritual root yet. How is that even possible? You better keep quiet, Janin thought. Otherwise, you'll continue to practice the sunflame technique. The poison in your heart will continue to accumulate, and you'll die in 7 days. The young man's eyes flashed with anger. Ah, the old man began to shout. He didn't tell anyone about this. How did this guy know? Janin ordered the elder to obey, gave him 3 seconds to think. 3. At this moment, the defeated warrior stood between them and shouted at Zhan Chen to obey the elder. 2, said Zhan Chen. Where did your self-confidence go? Why should he trust a young man like you? Life or death, it's up to you. 1, said Jian Chen. If there is a chance to survive, it is worth the risk. On his knees, a scream was heard. The elder ordered the defeated youth to kneel down and beg Jin Nian for forgiveness. The crowd was horrified. Did the great elder really reprimand him? Why did he stand up for Yanqin? Yanqin smirked that someone wanted to go against him. The defeated youth became like a child, he cried, and clung to the old man. The old man kicked him and drove him away, and ordered him to apologize to Xiaowen. And so it happened. He bowed and began to beg for forgiveness. Xiaowen chased him away. Now the elder asks Yan to help him deal with the fire poison. Janine agreed on 2 conditions: to keep today's incident a secret and to obey him in everything. The elder didn't like this. Janin didn't give up either. Agree or die, the elder agreed. And Yang told the elder what he should do. For 7 days, the elder must collect the baby's urine twice a day. The elder didn't believe it. He thought that Zhan Chen was deceiving him. Janine said that urine is full of energy and will cope with the elder's poison. This time I had to trust the elder. At night, during the full moon, you could hear the sound of the wind. Janine meditates while sitting on a mat. The black hole in his chest appeared again, and the red heart pulsed in time with his breathing. 3 days of meditation have passed. Mom knocked on the door. The initiation ceremony is about to begin. The door creaked open. Chenno went with his mother for the initiation ceremony. Sacrificial altar of the Maris family. Everyone is delighted with him. The altar is magnificent. To win, Xiaowen must awaken his spiritual roots. Someone shouted at him. This someone is outraged by Xiao Chen's appearance at the ceremony despite his warning. Xiaoan is indifferent. He decisively punched his opponent in the chest. Xiaoan took her frightened mother's hand and led her further. The enraged enemy did not give up. Someone from the crowd tried to stop the angry young man, but the gods at the ceremony with their whole appearance called for calm. After the initiation, he decided to correct Zhao Chen. Everyone is already gathered, and they began to grumble, condemning Xiaoan. And now the time has come. The solemn beginning of the sacrificial rite of awakening spiritual roots. The gong sounded. The crowd cheered. The elder invited everyone to donate some of their blood to the altar, and everyone united bared their hands. Xiaoan also joined them. A drop of blood from his finger rushed into the passage. The sacrificial altar changed color. What's going on with him? There were rumors going around. The tension was mounting. The warrior awakened to his spiritual roots. And this started happening to everyone who was nearby. Only Zenon remained silent, and they began to laugh at him. They told each other that Zhen Chen would fail this year too. And only the mother believed in her son. "I don't believe it!" Everyone in the area shouted. Janine tensed up. He couldn't pass up another chance. He wasn't satisfied with his usual lot. He demanded the awakening of spiritual roots. And again his chest heaved. Spiritual light poured into the black hole. The elder was surprised and thoughtful, looking at Jen. A miracle happened. Janine awakened his spiritual roots. The wisest of the elders declared the ceremony complete. Janan is forced to contain the enormous power within himself. Nobody believed him, and everyone laughed at him. Everyone said that Janine had missed his chance. Jenin held back his strength. He knew that these people around him would not understand the heaven-devouring technique. Spiritual roots have awakened. The road of revenge has begun, Luosi, but where? Jenin imagined how he would treat Louis. Mom suggested that Chino wait for the owner and leave here. But no one wanted to let them go. People were approaching Zhao Qin and his mother. It was the young man whose scrotum was damaged by Zhen Chen's hand. John's mother was very surprised. But Jane reassured his mother, for he had awakened his spiritual roots. But again, no one believed him. Everyone claimed that the spiritual light had passed them by. Everyone still shamed him. The quarrel between the young people escalated. Xiao Chun suggested testing this. Xiaowen was ready for battle. He had calculated everything. The test of the order of spiritual roots begins, the elder proclaimed. All 6 rows, each with its own fire, shone on the altar. Well, here it is, the elder announced. A pillar of a certain color began to pass through each warrior. And Xiao Chang was the only one who wasn't illuminated. Everyone started making fun of him. But Xiao Chen remained unperturbed. The Marcus family, with 2 earth-ranking roots, deserves respect. Someone from the youth has awakened the path of the earthly rank. It will be difficult to compete with him. The elder, seeing that Zhao Jing did not have a luminous pillar, assumed that he wanted to fake the results. The red dragon circled around the altar. The elder wanted to get rid of Xiaoan. He sent his assistant to do it. The warriors rushed towards Xiao Qin to take him out of here. And then Xiao Qin's spiritual roots were revealed. The young man's eyes sparkled. Everyone was puzzled by what was happening around them. Jane's entire body was immersed in a pillar of light. It wasn't even a beam. Everyone around him began to believe that Xiao Qin had awakened his spiritual roots. It was so powerful. But how could he do that? And Mom was the only one who believed in him. The second lady of the Mar family and her son were irritated. The elders also believed in Zhao Qin. But why did his pillar of light last for so long? "Yellow rank is not enough," his opponent shouted. Everyone started whispering that perhaps the rank of spiritual roots had increased. Xing was surprised by the heaven-devouring technique. I wonder what rank he can reach. Everyone is surprised and outraged. Another pillar of light. This time its roots reached the ground. Unbelievable, he did it again. How far can he go? The next level of spiritual roots is already heavenly. The second lady of the Maki family decided that Xiaoen was stronger than her son, who only had a black rank. Xiao Qin's mother did not hide her concern for her son. The son of the second lady of the Marcus family was scared, because earlier he almost killed Zhao Chang. Now if he becomes stronger, he will want revenge. He rushed towards Zhao Jing. He decided to finish off Zhao Qing before he became even stronger. Chino's mother screamed in fear for her son. The second lady of the Mari family sent her son to finish off Zhao Qing. The crowd cheered both men in anticipation of the fight. We must interrupt the ceremony, then Zhao Chan's spiritual roots will be destroyed and he will fail. The enemy growled at Zhao Qin. Zhao Qin coldly sent him away. The opponent booed even louder. The elder decided to intervene. No one has the right to interrupt the ceremony. The ceremony of awakening the spiritual roots must continue. The elder has expelled the instigator. The old man's hand pointed a powerful pillar of force towards him. The instigator fell to the ground exhausted. The crowd shouted that Xiao Chen now had earth-rank spiritual roots and that he would become very strong in the future. The second lady of the Marquis family called out to her son. She walked up to him and lifted him off the ground. He began to justify himself, saying that he had almost managed to deal with Jiao Chen. The woman turned to the elder with reproach. The elder believed that if it weren't for Mara's reputation, her son would have died long ago. The old man's gaze was filled with wisdom. The servants began to calm him down. The second lady of the Maris family came to her senses and began to apologize. Jia Qin's gaze turned to the heavens. The crowd whispered that Zhao Chen could enter the top 20 talents of the Qianan kingdom. The elder was surprised, thinking that the roots of heavenly rank were so easily obtained by a John. Jaina's mother was very happy for her son. However, Jaina still had envious friends. Now they had rights to the altar. The elder didn't like this. You got off easy. I suggest you shut up. The second lady of the Marcus family and her son were also unable to settle down. Sparks of contempt and envy lit up their eyes. Zhao was pleased with the heavenly situation. Everyone noticed that the spiritual light around Zhou had changed again. If this continued, his spiritual path would be able to reach the innate level. There was only one such talent in the entire Tanuan realm. The elder realized that a wonderful future awaited Yan's family. His servants remained obediently silent, but someone pointed out that innate rank does not have the same color. Green is the heavenly rank of spiritual roots. Yellow is the earthly rank of spiritual roots. Orange and black represent spiritual roots. Red is the yellow rank of spiritual stones. The crowd began to rebel again against Yang's yellow rank, the lowest rank. Everyone was shouting that the yellow rank was the rank of the common scum. Even the elder was upset that he did not witness the birth of a genius. Now no one can stop Zhao Chen's opponent, he thought. He decided to kill Zhao Chen for life. Chen's mother decided to warn him of the impending danger. The second woman from the Mary clan decided to stop her. Xiao Qing must not die here. He will heal the defeated. He rushed towards Zhuan. We should ban the fight until after the ceremony. He tried to gain Elder Mo's support. It's just a competition, not a battle. There is no reason for the great elder to interfere. The elder decided to expel him from the altar. It all depends on the abilities of the great elder. They collided in the shopping mall, creating a strong wave of energy between them. Those around him whispered that no one could help Zhao Chen anymore. His days were numbered. The elder called the second young master for help. The forces were unequal. The second young master liked this and happily decided to join the fight. John's mother began to scream in horror. The elder's face distorted with anger. He decided that it was too late. The second young master went to destroy Zhao Chen. The second lady of the Mark family, his mother, praised her son. Juan was cold-blooded. He understood that his opponent was capable of only a pitiful accumulation of energy. Jane's opponent decided to unleash his power with fury. Jane met him calmly. Jane coldly advised his opponent not to overestimate his strength. Shaowen called upon the inner spiritual roots to appear to him. The crowd roared in fear. Innate spiritual roots appeared to Zhao Chen. He is the only one like him in the entire Tanyuan kingdom. And only the elder was glad about this. He understood that their kingdom could rise even higher. The fight must be stopped immediately. The warriors realized that over time, Xiaowin, with such power, could become the ruler of the region. Only his opponent could not agree with this. He couldn't let Janin get the better of him. A fist of fury crashed down on Zhao Qin, but he easily parried the enemy's attack and sent him aside. The defeated youth's face was distorted with anger, and he fell to the ground exhausted. The crowd was astonished when Jia Chen used the power of heaven and earth to paralyze Xiao Yan with one blow. The elder angrily attacked the defeated man. The elder accused him of wanting to hinder the genius and prevent their family from achieving prominence. The second lady of the Marquez family, his mother, intervened in the conversation. Her son began to ask her for help. She resolutely stood up for her son. The elder showered the woman with curses. The elder swung his blade at the woman, ready to kill her. Now her son, with tears in his eyes, begged for help. Xiao Chang decided to intervene in this confrontation. Xiao Chang asked my lord to have mercy on the defeated youth and his mother. The crowd was puzzled by Zhao Chang's actions. Xiao Yan couldn't believe his eyes. My master was also surprised he heard right. Jane declared that only he could take Zhao Yan's life. The crowd became even more outraged. My master agreed, putting the blade back into its sheath, and he decided to let Xiao Yan go only out of respect for Xiao Chang. The defeated young man turned away with a shudder, but he decided that he was not afraid of Xiaowen. Xiaowen gave his opponent 5 days to recover and then returned to deal with Zhao Yan. The crowd continued to be outraged by Zhao Chang's behavior, not believing in his victory after 5 days. Zhao Yan agreed to have a fight in 5 days. He was confident of his victory. Zhao Yan took his mother and prepared to leave, but Zi Xiaoqing called out to him, "Why is he leaving?" Xiao Qin decided that Xiao Yan should thank him with a couple of spiritual stones. as a token of appreciation for his mercy. Xiao Yan was outraged by such impudence. Xin didn't expect such an answer. Xiao Yan heard indignant cries behind him, so he decided to give the stones to Zhao Qin. He in turn thanked the defeated youth for the bag of spirit stones. At this point, the young people parted. Xiao Yan was confident that within 5 days he would make his opponent regret it. Jia Chan's mother has expressed doubt about her son's ability to win the battle after 5 days. At that moment, my lord approached them. He warned Xiaowen against being overconfident. Xiaowen thanked him for his concern. As he was leaving, my lord invited Xiaowen to attend the Fingyun tournament that would be held in the Tenin Kingdom in 3 months. The young man's mother thought for a moment. After all, this was a responsible tournament. The 50 best warriors would receive invaluable resources for development. Zhuan decided to prepare for this decisive tournament. My master's assistant approached Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen stopped him and suggested that they meet in 4 days. The old man agreed and offered his help just in case. The old man had his own insidious plans for this. John let him go for 4 days. The old man thought that the young man was acting very insolently because of his new abilities. Zhuan told his mother that he was hungry and that noodles would be a good thing right now. Jane was surprised that many people in this family wanted to cause him a lot of trouble. After Zhao Qing returned home, everyone began to call him the third young master, and everyone admired his strength and courage. Zhao Qin was very surprised by the situation at home. Everyone began to present Zhao Qing with their family treasures as a tribute to his strength and genius. People began to bicker and fight for the right to be the first to approach the third young master. There was even a skirmish. Yan agreed to accept all the gifts as a token of respect. He decided to calm the crowd so that the doors to his house would not be broken down due to the crush. His mother was the most surprised. It seems that the news of your awakening has preceded you. Now everyone, even the simple servants, are trying to please you. Zhuang happily accepted all the gifts, after all. Now he would not have problems with resources for some time. The mother was happy for her son. When the news reaches the father, he will be very proud. Zhuan was indignant. Where was his father when everyone was humiliating them? Why didn't he stand up for them? Your mother started to stand up for her husband. He is still your father. Zhao Qing sadly entered the house. It's okay, the woman thought. You'll understand everything soon. Xiaowen decided to increase his strength because awakening this time was very dangerous. He held a glowing stone in his hand. The gaping black hole in his chest appeared again. The stone floated in front of him, along with this black hole. Xiao Chen's absorption capacity increased several times. Xiaowen was delighted with what was happening. He was now invincible. Zhao Qing continued to meditate and hoped for a new immersion. Finally, after so many years of unsuccessful attempts, he managed to enter the yellow stage. It took Zhao Yan 3 months to do this. Jia Chen did it in 3 hours. Incredible. But suddenly something went wrong. What's the matter? Zhao Chen said indignantly. The stone changed color to blood. How is this possible? Zhao Chen was very surprised. It turns out that the black hole and spiritual roots have merged into one. There was nothing like this mentioned in the technique book, and Zhao Chen wasn't sure if it was good. Someone knocked on the door, shouting that he absolutely had to see the third young master. It was the elder's voice. Xiao Chen was very surprised. The door swung open and the old man fell inside, asking for help, for now he could die. He fell to the floor and began to writhe in front of Jia Chen and his mother's feet. The woman became scared and wondered what had happened. She gestured for the elder to come over and explain what had really happened. The old man was not himself. He was burning from the inside. It turned out that he could no longer bear the poison. It was burning him from the inside. Xin decided to put an end to his suffering and help the patient. He directed his energy towards the sick man. His mother urged him to stop immediately. It was dangerous. The old man clenched his teeth angrily. Jaina's power entered him. It was incredible. The old man flew back into the doorway with force. Blood was flowing from the old man's mouth. His eyes were closed in fear. The elder thought that Zhao Chen had decided to finish off the old man. The mother was surprised that her son would do this to the elder. The young man gestured for them to look at him, pointing his finger. The pool of blood turned out to contain some of the poison that nearly killed the elder. The old man was surprised and delighted. Indeed, he now felt much better than before. The mother wondered if everything was okay with the old man's body after such a procedure. The elder thanked the third young master for the healing and stated that he would remember this favor for the rest of his life. The elder decided to follow the example of the third young master. After all, this strike was comparable to the practice of the initial stage of the yellow stage. Xiao Chen achieved this only a few days after his initiation. Now Jian will need herbal medicine. because he only got rid of part of the poison from the elder. Jian glanced at the scroll. The elder was very surprised that Jian knew how to prepare herbal medicines. However, the elder had heard of some of the herbs on the list for the first time. Jane said that without these herbs there was no question of salvation. If the elder did not believe him, he could leave. The old man prayed for help, asked not to leave him, and was ready to follow the master. The boy's mother could not recognize the old man. What had happened to him? He was so arrogant. Joe decided to save the elder after all, as he had helped the young man a little during the ceremony. But for this, the elder must first go with the master to the Luo Pavilion. The elder was very surprised. Nevertheless, they went to Pavilion L together. After all, Luo Pavilion was the largest herbal medicine store in this kingdom. Even the elder agreed. The pavilion is divided into 3 floors. Anyone can get to the first floor. To get to the second floor, you must be either a noble or a cultivator, at least at the black stage. Only alchemists were allowed on the 3rd floor. It was a very closed area. The men were very curious. Zhao Qin suggested that they go into the store and look around. Perhaps they could find the medicine they needed here. The store was bustling with activity, with sellers enticing customers to shell out more money and buy various potions. Zhao Qin didn't like the goods on the 1st floor. They were quite mediocre. Zhao Qin pulled the elder up to the 2nd floor, and he immediately agreed. But there was a security guard at the entrance to the 2nd floor who didn't want to let them in. Zhao Qin explained that they needed to go up to the 2nd floor to get the medicine. The guard was adamant, as he didn't want the yellow stage stuff to go up to the 2nd floor. Zhuang objected, saying that the guard could be wrong. The elder asked the 3rd young master to deal with the guards himself. Zhuan pulled him back and advised him not to interfere. The guard rolled up his sleeves and decided to teach Zhao Chen a lesson for his insolence. The visitors were furious, wondering why the young warrior would mock the guards when it could cost him dearly. The guard swung his weapon furiously, wanting to teach Zhao Chang a lesson. Jian only snapped back. He didn't even move. Slightly dodging, Xiaowen avoided the strike. The guard roared in rage. "How dare this boy dodge the blow!" In response, the guard received a brutal slap in the face. Zhao Qin thanked the guard, who flew away for the lesson. The customers were surprised by the young man's behavior. Either he is from a powerful sect, or he will die for such an act. No one has the right to beat the guards of the pavilion in the pavilion. The guard, his cheek swollen, pounced on Xiaowen in rage. The elder warned the young master to restrain his anger. The young man objected because he could not stand still when the guard wanted to beat him. The elder tried to reason with the young man, reminding him that he still didn't realize how strong the Luo Pavilion was. Footsteps were heard from above. No one dares to behave like that here. Zhuan saw a beautiful girl in a red dress coming down from the 2nd floor. The customers in the store exclaimed, "It's Tang Rou. Why is she here? She's the pavilion master's apprentice, a 2-star alchemist. Everyone is afraid of her." The security guard began to complain to the young girl that he was almost killed by a stranger. Tan R shouted at the guard that he couldn't even handle the initial stage of the yellow stage. "I wish he would die of shame," she said, and the guard immediately exhaled. The girl called out insultingly to Zhao Qin. She didn't care who he was, but if he had a beef with the pavilion, he had to be prepared to face the consequences. He wouldn't get away with it, she said. The elder tried to explain that this was already the 3rd young master in the family, and he was in this pavilion for the first time and did not know all the rules. The girl had already heard of Zhao Chen, a young man with innate roots. They were outraged that this did not give the young man the right to behave in such a way in the pavilion. The girl was very surprised that Zhouan was not afraid of her, despite being in the late stage of the heavenly stage. She suggested that the young man sort out the rules in force in the pavilion. Zhao Qin was angry. He didn't care about the local rules. Even her father, the owner, didn't dare tell him what to do. The visitors to the pavilion began to be outraged by Zhao Qin's behavior. It was very provocative. The girl became angry and began to drive the young man out of the pavilion. The elder asked her not to make any sudden movements and to drive Xiao Qin away. Xiao Qin advised the elder to calm down. He would sort everything out himself. Xiao Qin was sure that the girl would not dare to touch him. Miss Tan was surprised by the young man's self-confidence. "I beg you," she said. The pendant on her chest glowed green. Flower of tranquility, gunung herb. It looks like Miss Tang was trying to cleanse the kale. The crowd around him was very surprised that the young man knew alchemy, but it did not save him. Miss Tang asked Joe how he knew about the tea cleansing tablet. The young man said that he knows more. He knows that the girl has no way to fix this. The girl was surprised that the guy knew everything about her. Miss Tang thought that perhaps he was an alchemist too. "Yes, every time at the end you put a flower of tranquility." "Absolutely right," the girl confirmed. "You've missed the point," he said. Miss Tan was indignant. If something was wrong, of course I would have understood everything. Or maybe he's an alchemist too, thought Miss Tang. Zhao Chen said, "Of course I'm an alchemist. Even respected alchemists asked me to give them advice." Everyone thought that with his innate spiritual roots and being an alchemist, he had a brilliant future ahead of him. Miss Tang asked the young man to show her his star plate, as he claimed to be an alchemist. Zhuan was surprised because he didn't know what it was. Everyone laughed. He's not an alchemist if he doesn't know what a star saucer is. The star plate is a special item that confirms your status as an alchemist. It also shows your current rank, the elder whispered. It turns out that alchemists are much easier to distinguish by their plate, thought Zhao Qin. Miss Tan has a plate like this on her chest, and she wears 2 stars, which proves that she is a 2-star alchemist. Miss Tan was surprised that the young man did not know such simple things about the plate. She ordered the young man to bow and admit his mistakes. Zhuan was surprised that people could not realize the obvious, and he responded to Miss Tang's red energy with his blue energy. Miss Tan wondered what was wrong with this young man's soul power. The crowd realized that this was Xiao Chen's mental soul power. Xiao Wen was upset and said that the girl had crossed the line. Miss Tang fell to the ground and decided that his mental strength was no weaker than hers, and his spiritual strength was even stronger. He is still very young, she thought. He is only 15 years old. The elder was glad that he had made the right choice, because Xiaowen was also an alchemist. Xiaowen decided to go straight to the 3rd floor, bypassing the 2nd, and the girl shouldn't have stopped him. But she did not listen and grabbed the young man by the hand, and she asked him to tell her what she did wrong while cleansing her body with pills. Xiao Qing agreed to tell her everything. Xiao Qing took the girl's hand. She wondered what he wanted to do with her. A blush appeared on her cheeks. The young man approached her face and placed the gunun grass at the very end. Once the tablet is formed, simply add a couple drops of mystic spirit. After that, Zhao Chen led the elder to the 3rd floor. Miss Tan was outraged by the young man's behavior, and she decided to tell her master. The crowd was amazed by Zhao Chang's behavior and wanted to be like him. The best alchemy room in Luo Pavilion. Entering the room, Miss Tan turned to face her master. The owner was surprised by Miss Tan's excitement. He told me the correct recipe for making tea pills. The master was amazed that his student had figured this out herself. He thought she had 3 months left to study, but when he learned that she had been helped, he wondered who could have done it. According to her, she was helped by a master of alchemy, a 15-year-old boy. The owner was very surprised, and he wanted to see the young man, and he ordered her to immediately take him to the young man. It was the first time the girl had seen her master so excited. Low Pavilion, 2nd floor. The elder turned to the 3rd young master. He wanted to know if the medicine they needed was on the 2nd floor. The foreman said it wasn't there. Although the quality here is better than on the 1st floor, it is still not enough. You will have to go to the 3rd floor. On the way to the 3rd floor, a young girl appeared and suggested that the men wait. Because without a star, you can't go up to the 3rd floor? But then the owner of the pavilion appeared. The girl was surprised to see him. The men were surprised too. The owner of the pavilion was accompanied by Miss Tang. All 3 knelt before the owner of the pavilion as a sign of respect. All residents of the area paid tribute to the owner of the pavilion. It was the first time that Zhou saw Luo the lion control a horse. Miss Tan was outraged that the young man stood without kneeling. The owner of the pavilion was the vice president of the Alchemist Association, and the people around him did not like the fact that Xiao Chen stood in front of him without kneeling. Zhao Qing was surprised to see a 5-star alchemist at such an age. The alchemist decided that it would be best if Miss Tang tested the young man. Zhao Qin expressed disobedience, stating that in his previous life, he had a disciple who was a 7-star alchemist. Everyone in the pavilion decided that the young man had gone too far in his insolence. Jin was calm. Miss Tan was outraged by the young man's behavior. The alchemist suggested that everyone calm down, because the guest was still too young. The alchemist could not believe that a 15-year-old boy had decided to disturb the order in the pavilion. Miss Tan was indignant again. After all, it was unfair. The young woman was very angry with the young man for his behavior. Jane decided that the alchemist was the only sane person here. In the end, everyone was even more surprised, because even an alchemist was behaving like this with a young master. Miss Tan was upset because this got her into trouble. Everyone went up to the 3rd floor of the pavilion. Zhuan decided that the local herbs were hardly fit for consumption. Madame Tang was seething again, because the best herbs from all over the kingdom were collected here. It was literally a paradise for an alchemist. Zhao Qin asked if there was ice dew on the 3rd floor. The girls said that they don't have it. Zhuan asked if they had a mysterious tree and asked many other questions. They had none of these, and Miss Tang was furious, constantly refusing. She thought that the young man was deliberately naming non-existent herbs to make the pavilion lose its face. However, the alchemist calculated that such herbs exist, but they had not been seen in these parts for many centuries. The old man was afraid that now nothing could save him. He convinced the young gentleman to think of another way to save his life. Zhao Qin asked the alchemist to use his laboratory and bring him some of the medicines on the list or their substitutes. The alchemist claimed that they had these herbs, but they could not be mixed because they contradicted each other. Xiaowen calmed him down and offered to watch him prepare the medicine. The people around him were once again outraged by Xiao Chen's arrogance. The alchemist also began to get nervous. How dare this boy tell him what to do? Miss Tan decided that now she would see who the upstart really was, but Zhao Qin forbade the girl to look at him, because she was still only a student. Miss Tang squealed in indignation, but Zhao Wen loved to anger her. The alchemist shouted at Tang Ru. Okay, the girl decided, I didn't really want it. The young master was surprised by Tang Zhu's bad temper. The elder and the alchemist began to watch Zhao Chen with curiosity. The alchemist boasted to the young master about his expensive pill furnace. Zhuan agreed with the alchemist. The owner of the pavilion tried to remain calm. He hoped to find out what this young man was hiding. The young master guessed that his mental strength was currently somewhere around the level of a third-rank alchemist. That would be enough. He tried to use his internal energy to light the stove. The stove became red hot and a fire broke out underneath it. The owner of the pavilion guessed that the 15-year-old boy lit the furnace with his mental power. He is the highest-level alchemist in the Tanyuan kingdom. Medicinal herbs soared upward. The young man sent them into the oven with the power of his mind. Shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, the roots flew into the oven. The alchemist decided to stop the young man, saying, "This is contrary to medical pharmacology. You can't put herbs in the oven right away." The young man ordered silence and watched as he continued to work his magic over the stove. It was dual control with one dual-purpose heart. The young man decided that the stage of purification had arrived. The stove inside burst into a bright flame. The old man and the alchemist watched the young man with undisguised interest. Zhao Wen sank to the floor in exhaustion. He was very tired. He didn't cook like that in his past life. The elder was delighted and said that he was ready to be a faithful servant. The alchemist was the most astonished. How is this possible? The elders began to shout that they should be careful with the elixir. Zhao Wen calmed him down, and then the cauldron began to make strange, alarming sounds. The young man ordered the elder to come closer. With the help of this elixir, he wanted to cleanse the old man of the internal poison. It was a perfect third-level elixir. The alchemist was amazed by the young man's abilities. The young master needed a set of silver needles to finally cleanse the elder's body of the poison. At that moment, the alchemist fell to his knees in front of the young man. Ask him to take him as a student. Xiaowen was very surprised by this. The old man also couldn't believe his ears. Is this a joke? But the owner of the pavilion was completely serious. He said that the young man would make an excellent teacher because his knowledge was beyond comprehension. The elder began to persuade the young man to agree, telling him about the numerous advantages of such a decision. The young man brushed him aside, saying that he would make a decision without advice. The old man began to apologize. The young man turned to the alchemist. In saying this, I hope that given my strength and status, accepting some scoundrel as a master will not affect my reputation too much. But the young man refused the owner of the pavilion. The elder and the alchemist were outraged by the refusal. The alchemist wanted to know the reason for the refusal. At this moment, Miss Tang entered the room. She didn't want to believe that this scoundrel could cope with this task. And then she saw the owner kneeling. The girl asked why the alchemist was kneeling in front of this young man. The owner of the pavilion ordered her to be silent, saying that she should not enter there. The girl was offended that the foreman yelled at her in the presence of a stranger. The alchemist began to apologize to Zhao Wen for the girl. However, Zhao Qin refused to take the alchemist as his apprentice. Now Miss Tan stood up for the teacher. She decided to sort things out with the young man. The elder stood up for the young master, deciding to protect him. Miss Tan said she was not afraid of anyone and would deal with anyone. The elder was afraid that he would not be able to stop this strike. The alchemist was disappointed with his student, and he hit her in the face. The girl fell and could not believe that the master raised his hand against his student. The alchemist declared that he was no match for the great Xiao Chen, a powerful alchemist, and suggested that the young man take Tang Ru as his disciple. The young man wondered whether he should take the stubborn girl as a student. The girl refused to become his student, saying, "She will never go for it." "He is not qualified to be my teacher," she screamed. The alchemist shouted at her that she must understand what she was missing. Xiaowen asked the master to stand up, and the owner obeyed the young man. The alchemist still hoped that the young man would take the girl as an apprentice. The young man explained that his selection criteria were strict and Miss Tan could not become his student. Miss Tan contemptuously called the young man arrogant. The alchemist covered her mouth with his hand and told the young man that she revered him. The young man and the old man did not believe him. Now the young man decided to leave with the elder and go his own way. The alchemist shouted to them, but Juan stopped him. The alchemist offered to accept Tang Ru at least as a healer, and he announced that everything in the pavilion was at the young man's service. Jiao Qin agreed to take the girl as a healer. The alchemist was delighted with this news, and he suggested that Tang Ruo thank Xiao Qin for the service he had rendered. The girl refused to leave her owner. The owner refused to listen to her and turned away. He announced that Tang Ruo was no longer his disciple. The girl couldn't believe her ears. The alchemist said that she should follow Xiao Chen now. Xiao Chen pitied the pavilion master because his talents were limited. The girl said that if the young man didn't deserve it, he would regret it. But the young man had no intention of proving anything to anyone. The young man asked the alchemist to prepare a set of silver needles to dispel the old man's poison. The old man was incredibly pleased. The needles were ready. The young man confirmed that they were suitable. The girl didn't believe in Jiao Chen's talent. The young man prepared the gang's elixir and offered it to the elder. The elder agreed. The old man began to scream in pain. His insides were burning. The air around Juan began to get tense, and everyone became alarmed. To deal with this poison, very strong fire energy is needed. The old man was very scared. He thought that he might be burned alive. The young man called on the elder to remain silent if he did not want to die. To the point of Ocean K. Point of heaven, point of man. The elder stood at the center of the circle. Xiao Chen revolved around him. The young man succeeded and breathed a sigh of relief. The first part was done. The old man no longer burned and was glad that the poison was dealt with so quickly. The alchemist and his apprentice were amazed by the young man's abilities. His knowledge of medicine was as strong as his knowledge of alchemy. Jiao Qin announced the second part of the poison exorcism ritual. With the words, "disappear," he directed his internal energy towards the elder. There was a loud bang of incredible force. The elder immediately flew to the side and, suddenly, he started coughing up blood. After this, the young gentleman calmed down and announced that the job was done. The alchemist and his apprentice were amazed at how quickly Jiao Chen managed to do this. The old man knelt before the young man. Having declared that the fiery poison had indeed disappeared from his body, he was ready to kiss his savior. The alchemist and Miss Tang felt a little ashamed of the elder's behavior. Then the young man decided to say goodbye and leave the pavilion. The young girl announced to her mentor that she was also leaving. She said goodbye to the alchemist and headed towards the exit. And all three left Luo's pavilion. The alchemist said that Ruo would be better off with the young man. When the three of them walked outside, everyone began to wonder why Tang Ruo was chasing the young man. The elder suggested that the third master visit the new taste pavilion and drink some good tea. The young man agreed, and they headed to the new pavilion, not paying attention to the girl. Then they heard some kind of squabble. The men became interested. The voice seemed familiar to them. The young people were arguing. The girl did not want to give in to the young man, but the guy did not soften and began to insult the girl. He hit her in the face. Juan decided to intervene, walked up and grabbed the instigator by the arm. The girl recognized Juan. Juan threw the hooligan far to the side. The one with the scream flew far, far away. The elder whispered that the young people were engaged, and it would be better for them not to interfere. Jin was surprised by this news, but the girl said that she did not want to marry a scoundrel. Jian remembered that the girl's name was Zhao Qingyan, and she was his cousin. Tong Ruo wondered what would happen next. Jane suggested breaking off the engagement. The cousin happily hugged her brother. Tang Ruo followed the events. The groom was unhappy. He did not want to cancel the engagement and threatened Zhao Qin. Juan decided to deal with the instigator. He did not stop and demanded a decisive duel. Juan slapped him, and the enemy flew far to the side. One was surprised by Xiao Chen's enormous strength. Xiaowen towered over him. The groom was horrified by what was happening. Xiaowen did not relent and continued. The puppy in Xiao Chen's hand struck the instigator's head. Everyone began to turn away from the defeated enemy. The one with a lot of hair on his head started cursing Zhao Chen, saying that he would deal with him anyway. Zhao Chen swung his arm at the guy again, and he continued to kick him and morally humiliate him. Everyone who was watching around felt that the third young master of the ducal family was very cruel, and it was better not to get in his way. Zhou Qin calmed down, deciding that he had had enough. The cousin was delighted with her brother's actions. Everyone around was amazed too. Then a cry from an old man was heard. He decided to avenge the young man who was his master. In the old man's hands was a red ball that fed him. The cousin warned her brother about the danger. "Lin Louis, we haven't fought for a long time," the young man thought. A flash of fire erupted. The old man advanced towards the young man. The cousin was frightened by everything that was happening, but Tang Ruo was calm. The old man lifted the weakened groom. The groom said that Zhao Chun should be dealt with. Those watching the events were amazed at how quickly Zhao Chun's strength grew. The old man began to calm the young man who had lost the fight, and he decided to take revenge. The old man decided to deal with the elder. The elder decided to join the fight and kick the old man's ass. The groom decided that his chance had come. He pounced on Zhuan. Huan was completely calm. The enemy began to threaten the young man. A furious fist pierced the air. The old man was afraid for his master, but Lin Lui didn't want to let the elder go. Everyone in the area thought that Lin Yan was going to kill Zhao Qin. Tang Ruo no longer believed in her master's victory, but her sister hoped for his victory. Linen began to deliver crushing blows, but Huan was cool and calm. Jane was surprised at the stupidity of his opponent. At this point, Huan performed a trick with variable wind. It was incredible. The enemy flew far away. The earth opened up and a pillar of fire appeared from it. His opponent lay at the bottom of the resulting hole, not understanding what was happening. Xiaowen called the defeated man mediocre. Everyone around was amazed by the strength of the young master. The girls were also delighted, and only the servant of the defeated did not stop. The elder caught up with Lin Lai and gave him a strong slap. The elder continued to beat and humiliate him. Ruin didn't believe that Lin Yan wanted to kill him. Lin Yan, in fear, began to threaten the winner. Xin decided to take pity on him, but dealt with his little friend. Dingen began to beg for mercy. Huan threw it aside. Linen did not relent and asked for clemency. Zhuan suggested that he break off the engagement. Of course, the defeated Linen agreed. Linen shouted in front of everyone that he was calling off the engagement. The girl was incredibly happy. The crowd was both outraged and delighted. Linen held a grudge but decided to leave as soon as possible. But Xiaowen didn't let him go. He remembered something. Xiaowen delivered a sweeping kick to his opponent's groin. Lin Yan flew back with a cry of pain. He fell to the ground, cried, and began calling for a doctor to help. The girls giggled, and the crowd applauded Zhao's performance. Lin Lei couldn't calm down. He lifted his master up and began to calm him down. He whined and asked to be taken to the doctor as soon as possible. Lin Lui, of course, agreed. He knew that the Lin family would take revenge for today's humiliation. The old man lifted the young man up and they rushed away. Huan was pleased. The elder tried to bring his master to his senses. The cousin began to thank her brother for his help. Xiao Wen said he would continue to protect her. Tang Ruo also decided to take care of the young girl. She explained that she hated such scoundrels. They all headed towards the White Tiger's estate. A man came out and screamed and attacked Xiao Qingyan. It was her father. She explained that she didn't want to marry this scoundrel. But her father was furious. He had a different opinion about the engagement. Zhaowen stood up for his sister. His uncle scolded him, saying that it was none of his business, even if he had awakened spiritual roots. The girl's father demanded an apology. She cried. She didn't want to go back to the wedding. Jin grabbed his uncle's hand and threw it away. Just go away. The girl's father stood up. He was outraged that his nephew had attacked him. In an indescribable rage, the man attacked his nephew. Jin announced that he had awakened his innate spiritual roots and his uncle might be in trouble. At the last second, the uncle tensed and froze. The uncle realized that his nephew was now too important for the family, that now was not the time to touch him. Zhao Qin told his uncle that the failed groom might have problems with the inheritance. Uncle was scared, knowing that the Lin family would not let it go. The uncle decided to definitely go with his daughter to the Lin family to make amends. The daughter resolutely refused. She said that after her mother's death, her father began to treat her badly, and she renounced her father. The father got angry and decided to teach his daughter good manners. The girl only cried in response. Then Tang Ruo stepped in. She kicked the man with a sweeping kick. He fell to the ground with a thud. His daughter was crying. Her father did not expect such a vile blow. Tang Ruo was furious. "You still don't understand who I am." Zhao Wen told his uncle that it was the manager of Luo Pavilion and a 2-star alchemist. Uncle began to bow and apologize to her. The girls announced that they were now sisters. Uncle continued to bow, and the company headed towards the exit. But the uncle had a great dislike for young people. Zhao Wen brought the girls to his home and asked their mother for permission to let his cousin live with them for a while. Qingyan was a very shy girl. The woman invited her to stay with them for as long as she wanted. The woman recognized the second girl as the manager of the Luo Pavilion. She asked her son about it. The girl decided to explain to the woman herself what had really happened, because it was the alchemist himself who had sent her with Zhao Chen to help him make pills and learn from him at the same time. Qingyan was amazed that her brother knew how to concoct pills. The woman could not believe her ears. How was it possible that her son was teaching her alchemy? She asked her son to clarify the situation with his mother. Zhuan began to explain to his mother that he had previously studied alchemy. The woman wondered when it was, but Xiao Chen did not want to continue the conversation. He told her that he was already very hungry, and it was time to feed them all. The woman, of course, agreed. Zhao Qin breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want to tell his mother everything so as not to worry her. People gathered in the martial arts arena and listened eagerly. The young man standing at the top was very serious and focused. Everyone was talking about today's fight between Zhao Qing and Xiao Yan. Opinions were divided on who would win. The woman demanded that Zhao Chen be undressed and not spared. Xiao Yan promised his mother not to spare his opponent, and to make him regret that he was ever born. Many people were rooting for Xiao Yan and grumbling that the innate spiritual roots had gone to the wrong opponent. They thought that Zhao Qin had no chance of winning. It's early morning and Xiao Yan stands in the arena with his head held high, imagining how he will strip his opponent naked. It's already noon, but there's still no enemy. The crowd is confused. Zhao Yan is starting to get worried. Evening came, and Zhao Yan was furious. He did not expect such impudence from his opponent. The crowd was confused, wondering what had happened. Xiao Yan shouted, "How dare Zhao Chen do this to him?" He promised to grind his opponent into dust and turn him into trash. Many began to suspect that Zhao Chen was simply afraid of his opponent, since the outcome of the fight seemed obvious to everyone. Suddenly there was a noise, and everyone saw Xiao Yan being carried away by the wind. A sleepy Zhao Chen appeared in the arena and began to apologize to everyone for being a little late. Zhao Qin was surprised by Xiao Yan's absence. Where did his opponent go? Xiao Yan appeared with fury and curses, deciding to pounce on his offender. A red clot of energy appeared in his hands. Xiao Yan was determined to destroy his opponent today. Zhao Chen was very surprised to see the bloody pill in Xiao Yan's hands. The young man swallowed it resolutely. It was incredible. He immediately felt an incredible surge of energy. It invigorated him, and his eyes sparkled. He desperately shouted that Zhao Chen was about to die, and there was no chance of salvation. Viewers were terrified by the red pill, which, although it increases strength, can also harm the person who takes it. Xiao Yan's strength was now comparable to that of a late-stage yellow fever patient. Zhao Qin laughed, not agreeing with the situation. Xiao Yan charged at his furious opponent with a shout, throwing out his hand. Zhao Qin began to call upon the devouring heavens to give him more strength. The energies of the opponents met, and it was very powerful. An explosion of energies occurred. Everyone saw that it was a very powerful explosion with a large shockwave. Everyone began to doubt whether the young people really only had a yellow step. But the unthinkable happened. Xiao Yan's strength began to fade. He realized that this was a trick of his opponent. But how could this be possible? It turned out that Zhao Chen had managed to absorb his opponent's spiritual roots. It was not difficult, and now he had broken through to the middle stage of the yellow stage. Xiao Yan's mother rushed to meet her son, and he began to call her for help as his strength was leaving him. Zhuan knew no peace, realizing that no one could save his rival from imminent death. Ruin unleashed another powerful blow with his profound energy, and Xiao Yan's body was sent flying far away. He fell to the ground, and purple blood gushed out from his mouth. Jane saw that the enemy's body was lying motionless on the ground. Jane's family members rejoiced at the young man's talent, confident that their family would now certainly begin to prosper. Everyone started raising their hands to the sky and chanting the winner's name. But then the unthinkable happened. Xiao Yan's mother took out a dagger and yelled at her son's offender. Zhuan had no choice but to deal with the disobedient woman. With one blow, he knocked her down. Her mouth was already bleeding in flight when the woman fell to the ground with a crash. Xiao Chen walked up to her and said that Xiao Yan had always bullied him and even wanted to kill him today, so Zhao Chen had no other choice. The crowd began to support Zhao Qin and justify his actions. The elder came to the woman and said that her son was to blame for always getting into trouble, and now he got what he deserved. The woman began threatening the young man, saying she would not let this go. Her son's killer would not escape retribution, she said. Xiao Chen said that he would always be prepared and no one could scare him. Xiao Yan's mother ran away. The woman went to her brother and complained about Xiao Qin, who had killed her son. She urged her brother to avenge her nephew. With tears in her eyes, she said that the young man had raised his hand to her in the same way. The man was outraged by this news. The boy became vain and needed to be taught a lesson. He decided to give his sister 3 yellow killers, but he needed to make sure that the young man would actually pay for what he had done. The woman decided to torture Zhuan to death, enlisting the help of 3 killers. She left her brother's house. thinking over a plan for bloody revenge along the way. One of Mr. Wang's servants obediently agreed to carry out his master's order and deal with the unwanted boy. The servant said that he could not avoid blood feud, but the master objected, saying that this did not concern the Wang family. Let the woman decide this issue herself. He said that Zhao Chen had already offended the Lin family. Now we can only wait for them to sort things out with each other. He said that the more chaos there was around, the more chances the Wang family would have to rebel. This was his cunning plan. Meanwhile, a tired Zhao Qin was resting at home and thinking about how he should behave in the future after all these events. He realized that by killing Xiao Yan, he had also insulted the Wang family. He had to be prepared for this. Xiaoqing realized that he had even more reasons to increase his strength, but suddenly he felt an unbearable pain in his heart. The young man could not understand what was going on. Using his internal energy, he jumped to his feet. Zhao Qin couldn't understand what was happening to him. Everything was very strange, and suddenly he disappeared, leaving in his place only a cloud of yellow energy. With horror, Zhao Qin realized that he was falling into some kind of abyss. It was a nightmare. Below lay a battlefield strewn with the corpses of fallen soldiers, and there was no one or anything alive around. The heavens opened up, and a frightened young man fell to the ground. He couldn't believe he was falling from the sky. He couldn't believe he was falling from the sky. With terrifying force, Zhao Qin slammed his head onto the ground so hard that sparks flew out from his eyes. Zhao Qin stood up. He didn't understand anything. Where was he? How did he get here? Everything in this world, from beginning to end, has the original power. It has dominated all three spheres since the beginning of the universe. Let the air of the three symbols rise and engulf the heavens. Zhao Qin thought he understood that this was the original place of chaos, the ruins of an ancient era. All this excruciating pain was worth it. The heavens opened again, and a fireball rushed from above, straight at the frightened Zhao Qing. He squinted and screamed in fear. This incredible force knocked him off his feet and threw him straight to the ground. It was impossible to stand. And at that very moment, Zhao Qin found himself back in his home, the very place from which he had disappeared a short time ago. The young man was even more puzzled. What was really going on with him? Zhao Qin guessed that this was not a dream after all. It turns out that he not only entered the ruins of an ancient era, but also received a legacy in the form of these symbols. Now the young man was ready to fight back against all his ill-wishers. After all these events, Zhao Qin decided to go to Luo Pavilion again. He warned his mother about it. His mother saw him off and said that she would wait for his return. 3 assassins sent by Mr. Wang were already waiting for Zhao Qin around the corner. They decided to follow the young man and kill him in a deserted place. Zhao Qin, of course, immediately saw the pursuers behind him. He was surprised that they appeared so quickly. The young man's path lay through a deserted forest. In the forest, he shouted to his pursuers, "How long have we been hiding?" The assassins, armed with blades, emerged from the ambush and headed towards the young man. They realized that the young man was good at spotting ambushes, but the mercenaries were confident in their strength. But they only had 3 late-stage yellow stage. Zhao Qin knew they couldn't handle it. The killers attacked the young warrior with fury and shouts, hoping to quickly deal with him. But he effortlessly scattered his opponents throughout the forest. It was incredible. Zhao Qin realized that this was a great chance to test how the ancient symbols affected his power. Zhao Qin did not stop and continued to deal with the attackers. It was immediately clear that they did not have a single chance. Blood gushed from their noses and mouths, broken blades flew in all directions. The raiders had no chance of victory. They were amazed by Zhao Qing's ability to fight like this. The assassins had never encountered such power before. Zhao Qin was delighted. After all, if the number of characters increased, he would become incredibly powerful. The mercenaries decided to quickly disappear forever, but Zhao Qin stopped them. "Where are you going?" Anger flared in the young man's eyes. He wanted to know immediately who sent them. The criminals were afraid to confess. I mean, they were the most professional of professionals, and that's why they didn't say anything. Their will was stronger than steel. Zhao Qin had to beat them again. They confessed that Madame Wang had sent them to commit this crime. Zhao Qin now realized that this was his second aunt's doing. Well, he would be prepared for this. Let's see who would win. The criminals grumbled among themselves and were glad that Zhao Qin immediately believed them and forgave them. But then the incredible happened. All 3 had their throats cut in an instant. Blood gushed out. Zhao Qing stood before them with his blade drawn. Of course, the young man didn't believe a single word these bastards said. The servant says he will demand the expulsion of this boy when his master returns, said the mistress, smiling mysteriously. Of course, she knew more than her maid. Perhaps Zhao Qing will soon be finished. She confessed that she sent 3 yellow killers to the boy to deal with the villain, and then the unthinkable happened. Zhao Qing entered the house and said that the pathetic 3 murderers were not enough to kill him. Auntie was terribly surprised. Auntie objected that it was impossible. After all, Zhao Qin was only at the middle stage of the yellow stage. It was not enough to simply resist the evil thugs. Now the woman was attacked by an elder who entered the house with a young man. He began to threaten her. After all, she should not have done this to one of her family members. Her servant stood up for the lady. He said that it was better for the elder not to interfere. His master would decide her fate. Now the woman began to threaten Zhao Qin's mother. She said that Zhao Qin would soon know what it was like to lose a loved one. Everyone started shouting at her, "You can't do that! You can't talk like that! Those are terrible threats!" Zhao Qin dared to deal with this unpleasant woman. The men looked at him in bewilderment, but it was too late. Zhao Qin rushed towards the woman. The servant and elder were scared and tried to stop him. The woman was furious. "How dare he do this to me?" she screamed. Zhao Qin hit the woman with all his might. The woman fell to the ground unconscious. It turned out that Zhao Qin had indeed finished with her for good. Her servant pounced on Zhao Qin with accusations. "This was an unforgivable act. He will not get away with this." Zhao Qin said he had no other choice, and she began to threaten his mother. The elder decided to stay by Zhao Qing's side until everything was settled. The servant attacked the old man with curses. Meanwhile, the servant reported to Lord Wang that all 3 assassins had been mercilessly destroyed by the young warrior. Mr. Wang asked what happened to his sister. The servant reported that Zhao Qin had destroyed her too. Mr. Wang attacked the servant in a rage, and he begged for mercy. The servant saw the master's anger and decided that Zhao Qin would definitely be the end of Master Wang. But Mr. Wang was only glad. This was a great opportunity to clash with the Zhao family. He ordered his servant to contact the Lin family immediately. It was time to act. Mr. Wang decided that he would pay for his sister's death. Everything was going well. In the White Tiger's mansion, there was a young man standing on the threshold. Mr. Ho returned home. Mr. Ho returned home a little tired. Everyone began to greet Mr. Huo. Zhao Qin also greeted his father. Mr. Ho opened his arms to his family. Zhao Qing greeted his father coldly because his father had not cared for his son before. The woman decided that she would not allow Zhao Qin to overthrow her son. Mr. Ho saw Tang Ra and recognized her. He wondered what she was doing there. "Why isn't she in her pavilion?" Mr. Ho asked. Tang Ra admitted that she was here as a maid to help Zhao Qin prepare the pills. Upon hearing this news, the people around them were very surprised. The woman was upset because she considered this girl to be her son's future wife, but now she decided to become a servant. Mr. Huo rejoiced. Not only did Zhao Qin have innate spiritual abilities, but he was also skilled in alchemy. Their family was incredibly lucky. At this point, a servant intervened in the conversation and decided to tell Mr. Ho some urgent news. Without waiting for an answer, Zhao Qin himself announced that he had recently killed the second aunt. Lord Huo, Zhao Qin's mother, and everyone around him couldn't believe the young man's words. "Really? He's such a bloodthirsty monster!" the servant shouted. The servant declared that the boy was disgusting and must pay for all his misdeeds. The woman screamed that now this young man needed to be grabbed and stabbed several times in the heart. The guards surrounded the poor young man, and now he had nowhere to go. He was trapped. Zhao Qin's mother started screaming that he was innocent. The woman was very worried about her son. Zhao Qing covered his mother with his chest. He asked his mother to calm down, since no one would touch him today. Zhao Qin began to glow, and a powerful cloud of energy appeared around him. Mr. Ho was upset. He said that he would personally kill Zhao Qing if it turned out that he had no good reason to behave like that. Zhao Qin said that of course he had good reasons, and everyone in the area knew about them. But Mr. Ho was unstoppable. Everyone thought that Zhao Qin would finally pay for his arrogance. Mr. Ho decided to find Zhao Qin guilty because his son did not want to tell him the reasons for his actions. Zhao Qin's mother stood up for her son because everyone saw that her son won in a fair fight. The servant explained to Mr. Ho that the second mistress had sent assassins to kill his son, and then wanted to kill the third mistress as well. So Zhao Qin got justice, he was innocent and could not be tried. Father wondered why Zhao Qin didn't confess to him right away. Zhao Qin said it wouldn't have made any difference. The father laughed. He was proud of his son. "This is what the heir of the great Zhao he should be like," he exclaimed. Mr. Ho did not want to discuss the matter further. Chao Qing and his mother left. They decided that Mr. Ho wasn't so bad. The woman decided to take revenge on Zhao Qin for all the atrocities he allegedly committed, and then Zhao Qin was challenged to a duel. Xiaowen was very surprised, wondering who else it could be. It turned out that the heads of the Wang and Li families had brought their warriors here for a decisive battle. The rival clans standing outside the Zhao mansion challenged the young warrior to a fight, threatening to kill his entire family if he did not comply. Zhao Huo appeared at the door and addressed the people outside, asking why they had come here. The enemies explained the problem to Xiaowen, and those around began to fear a confrontation that could lead to great bloodshed. Zhao Huo's servant began to suggest that he give up his son, as they would not be able to handle two clans at the same time. The servant was immediately hit hard. Blood gushed from his mouth. He flew far away and fell on the threshold. Mr. Ho was furious, saying that only he could decide his son's fate. The feuding families continued to make threats, and it became clear that bloodshed was inevitable. The warriors moved forward, calling to kill Xiao Chen with their blades drawn. Ready to demolish the entire estate, plunder it, and take the women captive, Xiaowen decided to call upon the ancient powers for help, which he did. The internal energy was released, and Xiao Chen's entire body began to glow. The enemies were terrified, begging Xiaowen for mercy. But the young man was not fazed and threw his fist of fury at them. The enemies were puzzled as to where such a young man got so much strength. While Zhao Huo was overjoyed, he decided that now was his time to intervene, entering into an unequal battle with the enemy. The enemies tried to stop Zhao Huo, hoping to quickly deal with the youth. One of the opponents challenged the White Tiger to a fight, while the other one decided to kill Xiao Chen. The confrontation between the clans escalated with terrible force. Xiao Chen faced a very strong opponent in a fierce battle, and many began to doubt whether the young man could stand up to it. His mother screamed in horror, unable to bear the sight. Well, you can't escape fate. Xiao Chen's eyes were blazing with rage, and no one could stop him anymore. At this point, the defense attorney appeared and declared that no one would dare attack Mr. Z. Everyone was terribly surprised. Since it was the venerable master of the Luo Pavilion, Xiao Yan was lucky again. And even he was surprised by the appearance of Pavilion Master Luo. Everyone around was making noise, wondering why Pavilion Master Luo was interfering. The pavilion owner asked Xiaowen how he was feeling, and Xiaowen thanked his savior. The audience was puzzled, wondering why the pavilion master showed such respect to Xiaowen and whether there was some kind of connection between them. The leaders of the attacking clans were outraged by the appearance of the pavilion master, believing that it was none of his business. The owner of the pavilion grinned, clearly displeased with the impudence of these upstarts. He declared that Xiaowen was the elder of the pavilion, and if they wanted to kill him, they would become enemies of the pavilion. The enemies were shocked to hear such news. While the Jiao family members were rejoicing, their relative became the youngest honorary elder of Luo Pavilion, which was a great honor for their family. Xiao Chen was pleased with his new position of honor and made a mental note to thank Pavilion Master Luo. The enemies were upset that the little bastard had gotten lucky again, but they realized that they couldn't resist Luo Pavilion. Luo Pavilion was too strong and powerful, leaving the enemies at a loss. However, one of the leaders of the opposing clans decided that not all was lost. Pavilion Master Luo was surprised that the enemy had not surrendered yet. He wondered if the pavilion meant nothing to them. The enemies decided not to harm Xiao Chen anymore now that he had become the elder of Luo Pavilion, but instead, they decided to take Xiao Qingyan as a prize. Xiao Qingyan was categorically against this, not wanting to return to the Lin family. She was told that it was not her decision, and that they will take her away in any case. Xiao Chen stood up for his sister, and his fist of rage flared up again, directing unstoppable energy at his enemies. The villain was enraged by the youth's rage and impudence. Xiao Chen stated that Xiao Qingyan was a member of the Zhao family, and he would always protect his sister's interests. Not everyone agreed with this. When a rival clan member grabbed Mr. Wang by the throat, claiming that he had lost 1,000 spirit stones and had never paid off his debt, Xiao Qingyan was considered to be the payment of the debt. Xiao Chen was shocked by this turn of events. However, Pavilion Master Luo asked not to interfere, as this was a personal matter between Lin Feng and Xiao Qingyan's father. Pavilion Master Luo considered the situation. While Zhao Huo was clearly upset by what was happening, Mr. Wang, Xiao Qingyan's father, began to beg his daughter for help, realizing that he would never be able to repay his debt. The blood ties were strong, and Xiao Qingyan screamed for her father to be released and agreed to go with the Lin family. Everyone around began to sympathize with the poor girl, realizing that the Lin family was using her to take revenge for her brother's failure. But Xiao Chen intervened again, determined to save his cousin. He met his enemies and said that if they needed to take someone, then let them take him and leave the innocent girl alone. The Lin clan leader agreed, but he knew that they couldn't kill Xiao Chen right now since he had too much support. Instead, the enemies offered Xiao Chen a chance to fight in the arena in 7 days with Wang Yan and Lin Cha, the top geniuses of the opposing clans. It was clear to everyone that this would be an unequal fight. Xiao Chen's parents were horrified by these conditions, saying that it was unacceptable to treat their son like this. Xiao Qingyan tried to dissuade her cousin from participating in the competition, stating that she was willing to return to the Lin family. But Xiao Chen was determined to accept the terms. Xiao Chen vowed to show everyone what a real fight was. Everyone started to criticize Xiao Chen, saying that he wouldn't survive such a fight, and that it was stupid to let Xiao Qingyan escape. Xiao Qingyan was deeply worried, and felt that Xiao Chen had signed his own death warrant. On the other hand, her maid was secretly pleased with this turn of events. Despite this, the decision was made. In 7 days, they would meet in the martial arts arena. The enemies of the Jiao family, satisfied with the result, were ready to leave. There was nothing left for them here. Xiao Chen remembered the faces of all the members of the Lin and Wang families. He would never forget this day. Only his cousin Xiao Qingyan continued to worry about her brother. She still felt the desire to return to the Lin family, but Xiao Chen reassured her, telling her once again that he would take care of everything. As they were about to part ways, Xiao Chen noticed a sign on a large building nearby, Tiger Reserve. He was surprised, wondering why such a place was here and what it meant. His father, Jiao Huo, caught his attention by calling out to him. Xiao Chen turned around and, together with his father, witnessed the manifestation of the power of the heavenly tiger. The sight of the flow of heavenly light stunned them both, and Xiao Chen guessed that it must be related to the bloodline of the great Jiao clan. Jiao Huo confirmed this, explaining that their family did indeed have the blood of the heavenly tiger. He then told his son that since Xiao Chen had awakened his innate spiritual roots, he now had a chance to awaken the power of the bloodline. Jiao Huo described the power of the bloodline as ancient and extremely powerful. Overjoyed by this unexpected news, Xiao Chen stood in awe. Jiao Huo advised him to calm down and meditate inside the shrine to fully understand and comprehend the scale of what was happening. Jiao Huo then left, hoping that his son would be able to handle this great responsibility, trusting him completely. Xiao Chen sat in the shrine, calming his mind and preparing to meditate. At first, Xiao Chen felt despair, realizing that his bloodline was too exhausted to awaken properly. However, there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He knew he was different. He was always destined for something greater. During his meditation, a miracle happened. A huge spirit appeared in front of him, and it was none other than the white heavenly tiger. Xiao Chen was stunned to realize that the bloodline formed its own spirit. The white heavenly tiger spirit rushed towards Xiao Chen, but the young man remained focused, channeling his profound energy to meet it face to face. Determined to confront the power of the white tiger, Xiao Chen stood fearlessly, ready to meet any challenge that came before him. The heavenly white tiger spirit let out a mighty roar, but Xiao Chen did not flinch. Meanwhile, outside the shrine, people noticed an unusual flash of light and assumed that young Master Xiao Chen was behind it. Xiao Chen's father watched the scene nervously, both worried and scared for his son. A few moments later, the large doors of the white tiger shelter opened, and Xiao Chen walked out. His father, as well as everyone else, looked at him with curiosity and amazement. Jiao Huo asked his son if he had succeeded in awakening the bloodline, and Xiao Chen nodded in the affirmative. A huge heavenly white tiger spirit hovered above Xiao Chen, and the crowd was in awe. Jiao Huo was amazed by the strength of his son's blood. It was as strong as that of their ancestors. The limits of his astonishment were reached when the spirits of the little tiger cubs began to appear. Playfully nuzzles the larger white tiger spirit. Xiao Chen tried to explain that he had nothing to do with it, but everyone saw the connection between him and the great white tiger spirit. Jiao Huo, embarrassed by what he saw, turned away in despair and handed his son a piece of chainmail. Confused, Xiao Chen asked what it was, and his father muttered that it was the heavenly armor. The armor would help hide Xiao Chen's presence and provide some protection, but Jiao Huo warned him to still be careful. When Jiao Huo left, Xiao Chen realized that his father was indeed a good person whom he had previously underestimated. Zhuan sits in his room and meditates. The inner energy bursts out and swirls in front of the young man. Zhou understands that he will have to fight the geniuses of the two families in 7 days, and he needs to quickly increase his strength. Right now, he can only try to break through to the late stage of the yellow stage and increase the number of ancient characters. He decided to use his spirit stones to the maximum and force the heavens to swallow him up. And so, 7 days passed, everyone came to the martial arts arena. The stands of spectators were filled to capacity. The head of the Wang family decided to talk to his representative in this duel. The young man listened to him attentively. The Wang family cheerleaders put on a show before the fight. It was so unexpected. The head of the Lin family knew that the strength and power of the Lin family was invincible, and it was undeniable. Only the Zhao family supported their representative modestly. It was obvious that they did not believe in Zhao Chun's victory. His father was tense and a little worried. Yahello was upset by his family's lack of support and attacked the support group. They fled. The opponent began to calm Yahello down, telling him not to worry so much. Another opponent suggested that the outcome of the fight was already obvious to everyone, so why support the loser? Yahello asked them why they were so sure his son would lose. Was it really that obvious? They replied, "After all, it's obvious not only to them, it's obvious to everyone around them." There were already numerous bets on the outcome of the fights in the stands. Everyone was betting that Xiaowen would lose, that he wouldn't last even 2 minutes. Two exceptional geniuses who would soon enter the black stage could not lose to a young man who was only in the middle stage of the yellow stage. Yahello did not say who would win, but he knew his son would surprise everyone present. Two geniuses of opposing clans were already standing with dignity on the pedestal, waiting for their opponent. The spectators in the stands began to get nervous because Jian had failed to show up on time again. It was obvious that he was scared, because the outcome of the fights was obvious to everyone present. The fearless geniuses of their clans began to insult their opponent from the arena at the top of their voices, because even his innate roots could not correct such a coward as him. Xiao Huo and his wife also became worried and even decided to send servants to bring the young warrior. The servant suggested that Jie Ho expel his son from the family if he did not show up for the duel, but the head of the family suggested waiting a little longer. The women from Zhao Chen's circle were also here, but his mother didn't want her son to show up after all. She didn't believe in his victory. The heads of the rival clans began to reproach the head of the White Tiger family. Where is his pride? How long should we wait for this impudent youth? Then the head of the Lin clan decided to kill cousin Xiao Chen, since he was afraid of the duel, and no one should interfere with them. Yahello warned everyone that no one should leave their seats until his son appeared. At this moment, Pavilion Master Luo intervened, suggesting that everyone remain calm and wait for Zhao Chen. Passions were running high in the box of the heads of the family, and the crowd decided that since there would be no fights in the arena, they could watch other fights. The head of the hostile clan reproached the master of the pavilion for sticking his nose into other people's business, and he secretly gave a sign to his warrior to prepare for the attack. Pavilion Master Luo once again asked him to calm down and just wait. The Lin family warrior, cursing and determined to kill the young Qingyan, moved straight towards her. Jia Huo and Pavilion Master Luo were furious at what was happening. However, members of the opposing clans came to the conclusion that it was too late and there was no turning back. Xiao Qinyan had already said goodbye to Xiao Chen and all of her family members in her mind. She fearlessly decided to fight the villain who was heading towards her. At this moment, everyone saw that Xiao Chen had finally appeared. He stood decisively between the villain and his cousin. Pavilion Master Luo and Yahello breathed a sigh of relief. The warrior was now in place. The heads of the Wang and Lin families were upset because Xiao Wen appeared at the wrong time, and their plan with Qinggang failed. The genius of the Lin family praised Zhao Chen, who managed to block his attack. It was not easy to do. Xiao Chen quickly walked to the center of the arena. He was now ready to take the fight to the ground. All three opponents were now in the arena. Xiaowen suggested that they attack. After all, he didn't want to waste time on meaningless talk. But the opponents were in no hurry. They felt their superiority and decided to make fun of the enemy. One of the warriors couldn't stand it any longer and decided to attack Zhao Chen first. He decided to immediately use his devastating double strike. Zen warned them, saying that if they didn't want to attack at the same time, then they had only themselves to blame. So the young man decided to use the power of the heavenly white tiger. It was so unexpected. The striker was taken aback. No one expected such a turn of events. Zhao Qingyan warned her cousin to be careful and vigilant. The head of the Lin clan urged his son to deal with the rival as soon as possible and not spare him. Yahello was calm, because when the power of the heavenly white tiger came into play, the result was always obvious. Zhao Chen stepped on the chest of his defeated opponent and looked pleadingly at the victor. Zhuan said that the genius of the Lin family had lost this battle without any doubt. The crowd was puzzled as to how this was possible. The young man had won the fight against such a professional. Master Lin must have been very arrogant and had miscalculated his opponent's strength. Yahello was very proud of his offspring. "This is a real warrior," he said. Jaina's mother and cousin were very happy that their boy had defeated such a strong warrior as Master Lin. The evil woman couldn't calm down because Zhao Chen was still alive. Her servant was also in despair. He knew that he would be finished if Master Zhao Chen remained alive. Pavilion Master Luo was satisfied with the outcome of the fight. He made the right choice by betting on Xiaowen. Xiao Chen told the defeated warrior that the two of them should have attacked at the same time, then the opponents would have had a better chance. The defeated warrior, with blood flowing from his mouth, begged Xiaowen for mercy, praying that he would not do such a thing again. The head of the Lin family begged Xiaowen to spare his son. After all, there would always be a way to reach an agreement in the future. Chuan was surprised. "Why should I let him go?" He raised his leg over his opponent, declaring that all must receive redress and all must answer according to the laws of honor for their grievances. Zhuan shouted that the defeated warrior would die a painful death and furiously dealt his opponent a fatal blow with his foot. The one with his mouth open, unconscious, remained lying motionless on the ground. The crowd was stunned by how coldly Zhao Chen dealt with his opponent, leaving him no chance to escape. The head of the Lin family, horrified by what had happened, was about to kill young Zhao Chen. With a cry of hatred, he rushed at the offender. But he was stopped by Xiao Huo and Pavilion Master Luo, who said that no one should interfere during the fight. The head of the Lin family retreated with curses, but he could not calm down and forgive what had just happened. His sister tried to calm him down and advised him to relax. She had a plan. One of the Lin family members is killed, another is crippled. Sooner or later, the Lin family may fall, but Wang Yan can avenge the insult. Now the representative of the Wang family decided to intervene. He declared that he was not a simpleton. Zhuan said, "You can be so arrogant that one such person already lies thoughtlessly." But Master Wang said that he was the strongest here and was not afraid of anything. The crowd, heated by interest, shouted that Xiao Chen would definitely not recover now. The gap between the black and yellow scenes could not be compensated by talent alone. Many of those present wished for Xiao Chen to lose in this fight with his opponent. Pavilion Master Luo was very worried about the outcome of the upcoming battle. He felt that the forces were not equal. The women urged Jian to save himself and not get involved in an unequal battle. Only Xiao said that he would not let his son lose this fight. The heads of the hostile clans urged their warriors to quickly deal with Jian. They wanted their representative to show in practice who the real genius was here. Then the warrior of the Wang family summoned the powerful red serpent of 9 transformations to his aid. No one expected such a turn of events. Xiao Chen realized that this was a deadly attack. This was the early stage of the Black Stage, and he decided that he could now fight for real. Everyone understood that a powerful battle between 2 great warriors was coming, and no one regretted buying tickets for such a performance, because it would be something to tell their friends. The red serpent and the yellow warrior were about to fight, but at first glance it seemed that the odds were not on their side. The yellow warrior delivered his first crushing blow to the red serpent's body. The warrior of the Wang family did not expect such a turn of events. He was very surprised. Zuan jumped up and shouted at his opponent to move away. Master Wang covered his face with his hand in horror and groaned. The yellow warrior's mighty force pressed his opponent into the ground, so much so that not a trace of him remained. The defeated enemy remained motionless at the bottom of the hole formed by the blow. Everyone wondered how the middle stage of the yellow stage could defeat the initial stage of the black stage. The world would never be the same again. The young warrior's evil secret enemies decided that he was hiding his development, because the yellow stage is always weaker than the black one. Cho noticed their whispers and asked what they were talking about. They reported that they were very pleased with the young warrior's victory. Of course, they lied to their master. The heads of the losing families were crushed. They did not know how to avenge the shame brought upon their families. Now they began to argue among themselves, blaming each other for the loss. But one of them didn't consider it a loss. He thought the best was yet to come, to be continued. Headland was surprised. Does Mr. Wang really have some kind of ace up his sleeve? Jia Chen addressed the outgoing heads of the losing families and invited them to speak one last time. But then something incredible happened. Something strange began to happen to the defeated warrior of the Wang clan. He stood up and, with shining eyes, declared that he would not be easy to deal with. Jin immediately realized that there was no shortage of demonic energy here. A black gas formed around Wang Yan. Those around him realized that he was still simply surrendering to his opponent. Jia Huo and Pavilion Master Luo saw what was happening and were very afraid for Zhao Chen. But the Wang clan chief forbade them from interfering. They said it would be against the rules. Jia Huo did not agree with him and sent him away. And then the unthinkable happened. The spectators who saw this realized that they had hit the jackpot. The heads of the three families and the master of the Luo Pavilion clashed in hand-to-hand combat. Warrior Wang started to threaten Zhao Chen because he forced him to use demonic power, and now Zhao Chen was in trouble. With a swift leap, Warrior Wang rose above Warrior Zhao. The support demon spread around. Everyone was indescribably frightened by what was happening. Zhao Chen coldly began to summon heaven-devouring heaven with 2 fingers. Throwing them forward towards the evil demon, he activated the absorption mode. The Wang family warrior certainly didn't expect this turn of events. A cry of surprise burst from his chest. Zhao Chen realized that the heaven-devouring technique was quite useful. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to deal with such an opponent. But Master Wang was not discouraged, and again rushed into battle, wanting to finally crush his opponent. Zhao Chen rejected him again. He couldn't understand what was going on. He couldn't understand why Zhao Chen was able to absorb his demonic energy. There was something unearthly about it. Zhao Chen declared that he was a monster who would decisively deal with his opponent today. Master Wang exclaimed that this was impossible. Then the Xiao family would have 2 blood enemies at once in the form of the Wang and Lin families. But Zhao Chen could no longer stop him. He unleashed his signature almighty strike on the enemy. The warriors fought in the arena in a brutal battle, and nothing could stop them. Wang Yan remained motionless again, lying on the arena. And again, everyone was dumbfounded with horror, silently watching what was happening. Everyone assumed that since Wang Yan lost, perhaps he was not a black stage warrior, or perhaps it was all fake. The enemies of the young winner were pondering how to proceed. The grief-stricken head of the Wang family called on all members of his clan to gather and immediately deal with the vile Zhao Chen. The head of the Lin family also called his clan to action. This was bound to be a major disaster. Xiao Huo, of course, called on his clan to fight back and protect Zhao Chen and the family's honor. Clouds were gathering over young Zhao Chen. It seemed that the forces were unequal. The owner of the Luo Pavilion decided to intervene and threatened the leaders that if they did not stop, they would become enemies of the powerful Luo Pavilion. Jia Ho suggested to his son to take Qinyan Yi away from here. Pavilion Master Luo decided to deal with the 2 heads of the warring clans at the same time. Jian grabbed his cousin in his arms and said, "Father, with the support of Pavilion Master Luo, you can handle this," and decided to calmly leave the arena. Passions were running high. No one knew how it would all end. Someone decided that the second elder had decided to betray his family. It was incomprehensible. Everyone noticed that he was heading straight towards Zhao Chen. The heads of the hostile clans suggested that Jia Huo hold his horses. Zhao Chen's days were already numbered, and he stopped. His plans quickly changed. He suggested that his cousin and his mother get out of there, and he himself decided to continue the fair fight. Zhao Chen was attacked by a villain who wanted to kill the boy. After all, this is his destiny. The cousin threw herself on her brother's neck with tears in her eyes. The villain was angry because he wanted to quickly deal with the nasty boy. Qingyan took the blow and fell unconscious into her brother's arms. Zhao Chen's eyes were burning with grief. The girl whispered that she was very worried about Jian and would be able to protect him. The villain did not give up. Now there was no one between him and Zhao Chen. There would be no mercy. Zhao Chen's eyes were burning with rage. He decided to gut the vile villain. Zhao Chen tensed up and called for heavenly punishment. The villain wanted to crush Zhao Chen's cultivation, but then his strength began to leave him. He begged for mercy, but Zhao Chen was not embarrassed. He knew that nothing could save the villain from inevitable retribution, and there was an unbearable silence. Everyone was speechless with horror, and then they broke through. The second elder was killed by a young warrior, but he had an earth cultivation stage. Isn't Zhao Chen the protagonist of some cultivation story? The head of the enemy clan was very upset because even the second elder could not defeat Chen. The heads of the hostile clans decided to retreat. Because their warriors were very scared, it was time to lick their wounds. They gave the order to retreat, and all their warriors hurried away. Zhao Chen realized that his meridians were about to burst. This was a backlash. After all, his cultivation was too weak to absorb so much energy. Jia Huo and Pavilion Master Luo decided to check on Zhao Chen's condition. Perhaps he needed help. He refused to help, but asked Pavilion Master Luo to help Qing Yan. Perhaps he had a healing pill that could help the girl recover. Pavilion Master Luo said that he only had this pill, but its effect only lasted for half a year. Zhao Chen thanked Pavilion Master Luo. Xiao Chen gave the pill to his cousin. But Jia Huo said that Qin Yan had half of her organs crushed and her ribs broken, and no one else could help her. Zan disagreed. He knew there was one pill that could help the poor girl. This pill is called the Spiritual Origin Pill, and it is the only one that can help. Everyone started to lament. Because it was a 5-star pill, where can we find such an alchemist? And some of the ingredients are very rare. They haven't been seen in this area for decades. Zhao Chen, holding his little sister in his arms, seemed to know what he should do now. Pavilion Master Luo announced that he knew where to get the Heavenly Tree fungus and True Emperor water, but the frost ice in the Heavenly Dragon lotus and the poisonous origin grass would not be easy to obtain. Zhao Chen asked the master of the Luo Pavilion to tell him more about the medicines that could be purchased. Luo Pavilion Master said that the True Emperor water was the personal property of the Tianwu Royal Palace, and the Heavenly Tree mushroom could be found in the main residence of Luo Pavilion. But an ordinary master could not take it. It all depended on the level of the pavilion master. Xiao Chen thought that he could resolve the situation. The owner of the pavilion agreed, although he noted that it would not be easy to do. The alchemy family room was surprised. Could Xiao Chen really be refining blood pills? Refining windgrass, fire essence, rough copper crystal, white emperor crystal, black leaf, all of it is so difficult. Tenru noted that this composition does not look right. Zhao Chen countered that these were not ordinary blood pills. He knew that by swallowing the demonic energy, he had managed to break through to the late stage of the yellow stage. Xiao Chen ordered his assistant to open the alchemy furnace. She obeyed. Zhao Chen walked towards the furnace and tried to channel his internal energy into it. Having done this, he called upon the power of the Heavenly White Tiger to help him. He decided that with the power of the Heavenly Tiger, the effect of the red pills would change, and the master would be able to break through one stage and be on the verge of a breakthrough, even without consequences. Tang Ru was amazed by the fire control technique. Even a low-level master couldn't do it. The girl noted to herself that Zhao Chen was very focused and handsome. She immediately blushed and began to drive these strange thoughts away. Zhao Chen turned on the cleaning mode. He directed the flow of internal energy into the alchemical furnace. Success awaited him. The long-awaited red pill was in his hand. Tangra was amazed that in the hands of the young man, the ordinary 2-star red pill had turned into a 3-star pill after being refined. Zhao Chen decided to stop his manipulations for now. Tangra came to her senses and asked Zhao Chen to accept her as a disciple. Only now did Tangra understand what Pavilion Master Luo had meant when he had asked her to become Zhao Chen's disciple. Zhao Chen smirked. Tangra had previously hated him to the core. The girl became nervous and began to apologize, saying that she would not do it again. Zhao Chen agreed to take her as a student, but only temporarily. Let's see how things will develop further. Tangra knelt down and said that everything was fine with her. The girl stood up and greeted her new alchemy teacher. Her chest rose and fell in time with her breathing. A blush appeared on Zhao Chen's face, and he gestured for the girl to continue her lesson. Zhao Chen created 5 blood pills and predicted that they would increase the Zhao family's strength many times over. At this moment, the young people heard that the people from the Wang and Lin families had returned again. They were breaking through at a tremendous speed, and it was necessary to urgently call a repairman. Tangra asked her teacher what they should do now. Zhao Chen decided that today he would crush all the enemies of the Zhao family into dust. Outside, the carnage began. There were many killed and wounded, and fire devoured the buildings. The heads of the warring families must have used demonic power, and they were no longer themselves. Their eyes glowed like red coals. One of them said that his men were currently detaining Pavilion Master Luo, and now no one would stop him from dealing with the unsuitable boy. They decided, as a sign of respect, to listen to the words of the White Tiger as Zhao Hao was frightened and decided to admit that the enemies were now stronger. He asked the invaders to spare the old people, women, and children, because they had nothing to do with them. In the end, the villains disagreed. This is a blood feud that must be dealt with by the entire Zhao clan today. The eyes of the enemies burned with bloody hatred. Zhao Hao was terrified that they wanted to destroy his entire clan. At this moment, everyone saw Zhao Chen with his new student. It was so unexpected. Zhao Chen, his father Tangra, and the elder stood up to defend their clan. The villains, delighted that everyone had gathered together, decided to finish off all their enemies in one fell swoop. Zhao Hao was surprised by his son's appearance. After all, they wanted to buy time for him to escape. The elder suggested that Zhao Chen save himself, as he was the only hope for the entire family, and only he could take revenge later. All the members of the Zhao family agreed with the elder and began to persuade Zhao Chen to save himself. Zhao Chen was so touched by the fact that his family cared for him so much that he almost cried. The elder declared that this is exactly how a real family should act. Zhao Chen announced that only the enemies would die today, as he had prepared several blood pills and now they needed to be consumed as soon as possible. Zhao Hao said that it was not bad, but the effect would be temporary and they would still lose the battle. Everyone agreed with the owner that he had little chance of winning. Defeat was inevitable. The red-eyed villains laughed at the young master. They knew that the pills would not have the desired effect for long. Zhao Chen asked his father to just trust him and showed him the pill. This blood pill turned out to be not as simple as it might seem at first glance. Tangra declared that these were indeed unusual pills, as they were prepared by Zhao Chen himself. Zhao Hao realized that he had nothing to lose now and swallowed one pill. As always in such cases, a miracle happened. The heavens opened up. Zhao Hao felt a surge of power from his bloodline. But the villains didn't believe him. They thought he was playing a trick on them. Just in case, the villains decided not to take any risks, thinking that Zhao Hao might be serious. One of them changed his mind. He used his blade and decided to test his fate by using his demonic power. Zhao Hao, feeling a surge of strength, was determined to fight his opponent. The villain swung his heavenly demon sword with all his might, but Zhao Hao threw a heavenly tiger fist at him. Zhao Hao, using the power of the heavenly tiger, began to expel the demon from the enemy's body. The villain was shocked. He did not understand how this was possible. He wondered where his demonic power had gone. Everyone saw how the villain fell to the ground. Exhausted, only a wet spot remained of him. Everyone was shocked by the effect of the red pill. The head of the Lin family lost to the white tiger. Zhao Hao guessed that this blood pill had helped him reach the middle stage of the heavenly profound realm. He was proud of his son. The Zhao family members were very happy that everything was happening this way. Now their young master would not allow anyone to offend him. Zhao Chen decided not to waste any time and threw blood transfusion pills to his family members, urging them to take them as soon as possible. Everyone did it. The Zhao family's mansion was illuminated by an unreal sunlight. The old man, having taken the pill, noted that he was able to overcome the step, and everyone who took the pills no longer felt fear. The elder was determined to rush into battle to deal with the offenders. The Zhao family members, unanimously, began to attack members of enemy clans and avenge their dead brothers. Some even promised to lay eyes on the enemy's ass and make him blink. The head of the Wang family recoiled and could not believe what was happening. He planned this crime for so long, but everything did not go according to his plan. It was a complete failure, Wang Hao thought. Zhao Hao immediately accused Wang Yan of colluding with the heavenly demons and called on him to sincerely repent. Wang Yan smirked. Confession was not part of his plan at all. Wang Yan announced to everyone that it was their own fault that they had brought him to the point of blood ignition. The process had already begun. Everyone noticed that Wang Yan's strength was now comparable to that of a late-stage celestial master. Only Zhao Chen was confident that the enemy could not be helped. Zhao Chen suggested that his father would use spiritual power to stimulate his bloodline. Then his bloodline would be strengthened. The elder suggested that he should not be afraid of the fire poison and use his sunflame technique to its fullest extent. The restless Wang Yan rushed into battle, sweeping away everything in his path. Zhao Chen declared that justice would prevail today, and Wang Yan would pay for all his crimes. Wang Yan tried to object to the young man, but then his demonic power weakened for some reason. He must have run out of strength. Zhao Chen ordered his father and elder to quickly deal with this criminal. The three of them surrounded Wang Yan. Zhao Chen used the secret technique, Shirt Tiger Claw. There was a powerful explosion. Nothing was visible. Wang Yan didn't expect to lose the battle because of some scoundrel. He decided that he was now doomed to failure. The Lin family members were indescribably frightened. Yurn ordered the surviving enemies to lay down their arms and submit to him. Everyone began to surrender, throwing down their weapons and swearing that they would never return here again. The Jiao family members celebrated the victory achieved thanks to the third young master. Zhao Chen was worried. After all, if the heavenly demons were involved, it wouldn't end here. There would be a continuation. Yes, the damned eye appeared. Who dared to kill my son while I was gone? You pathetic worms, I will never forgive you. Zhao Hao asked his son the reason for his victory and asked that they take some rest and take a break from work. The elder supported the proposal, saying that he was always up for a good time. Zhao Chen decided to relax a little since nothing bad was happening anymore. And then the elder noticed that his chest was becoming very hot. He just started to burn from the inside. Zhao Chen and his father couldn't understand what was going on. Zhao Chen calmed down. These were just the remnants of the fiery poison raging inside the old man. Everything was going according to plan, and it would soon be over. Zhao Chen pointed his finger at the elder, who decided to perform the sealing ritual. The elder coughed up blood for the last time and decided that the poison had finally left his body. Zhao Chen reassured the elder, saying that he was not suffering from an ordinary fire flame after all, but from a flame that ranked 48th in the Earth Flame ranking. Mystical flame. What is the mystic flame? Tangra asked her teacher. Zhao Chen explained that this flame could be called the Lord of all simple flames, and that it could greatly increase an alchemist's abilities. Zhao Chen decided to pass this flame on to his disciple. Tangra was embarrassed because it was too expensive a gift for her. Yuren urged the young student not to flirt and simply accept the gift. The girl agreed and immediately screamed she felt very hot. Zhao Chen ordered the mystic flame to obey the girl, otherwise he would disperse it. The girl immediately cooled down and decided that now she could control this flame. She decided that now she simply had to help the owner get the heavenly tree mushroom. Xiao Chen decided that since he had settled things here, he could head to the royal capital tomorrow. Yahello reprimanded his son and warned him to be very careful in the capital. Zhuan agreed and thought that only if Qingyan waited for him. In the backyard of the Xiao family estate, the cunning woman sent her maid with a secret letter straight to the capital. She agreed and accepted the message from the hands of the hostess. The cunning conspirator hoped that Zhao Chen would never return home from the capital. So Xiao Chen and Tangra reached the capital, and Tangra was delighted with the big city. Xiao Chen led her further, suggesting that they take a walk around the city after that. Xiao Chen began to remember his past life, in which he ruled over countless territories. Tangra grabbed the gentleman by the arm and asked him to stop for a moment. She saw a strange box on someone. She exchanged it for a spatial ring. Xiao Chen wondered why she needed this now. The girl announced that she had bought a Tree of Paradise mushroom and opened the box. Xiao Chen immediately slammed the box shut and said it was a priceless mushroom. How did you get it? The girl was embarrassed and refused to confess. But Xiao Chen did not give up and wanted to know the truth. And then someone wanted to tell Xiao Chen the whole truth. The girl was scared. It was young Fei who said that Tangra had agreed to become his wife, and the mushroom was his wedding gift. Xiao Chen decided to return the mushroom at a price he didn't need. Qingyan cried and said that this was her fate and nothing could be changed. Xin said that she was his student and he controlled her destiny. Tears continued to fall from young Qingyan's eyes. Someone slammed the lid of the box of mushrooms and told Xiao Chen that this was very noble. He knew that Xiao Chen had awakened the spiritual roots, but he was here to take Tangra. Zhuan warned that he would not be responsible for the consequences, and then the young man made up his mind. Zhuan said that if you sell the carcass of this fat man, you can get a lot of spiritual stones. The fat man became very angry. Everyone started whispering, "Who is he? How dare he contradict Yang Fei himself?" Yang Fei is one of the 4 young masters of the capital who are allowed to do whatever they want. Yang Fei became very angry and ordered his servants to beat up the impudent man. The servants immediately decided to execute him, as they believed that they would not leave the young man unharmed. Joao was prepared and warned them not to complain later. A fight ensued, but it was short-lived. Yang Fei's servants scattered in different directions. They were already coughing up blood and couldn't understand how this could have happened. Yang Fei fought and fought with hatred and anger. Xiao Chen walked towards him and said that it was his turn now. Yang Fei stood up and began to retreat. He warned that his father was the head of the Luo Pavilion. If something happened to his son, Xiao Chen would be in trouble. He would be hunted. But Xiao Chen was unstoppable. He knocked out the nasty fat man. The man fell to the ground with a thud. The crowd began to admire Xiao Chen because he was the one who hit Yang Fei. Qingyan was very touched by her master's action in fighting with Yang Fei for her sake. Yang Fei couldn't believe that he could be treated like this and began to threaten Xiao Chen with serious consequences. Xiao Chen jumped up to Yang Fei again and began to put moral pressure on him, threatening him with further reprisals. Yang Fei extended his hand towards Xiao Chen and began to beg for mercy. Xiao Chen let him go and said that his face now looked much better than before. It was pitiful to look at Yang Fei. His entire face was disfigured, covered in bruises and abrasions. He cried that no beautiful girl would ever look at him again. Everyone in the area laughed, but the pretty girls never paid attention to him anyway. Qingyan declared that her teacher was the best. Young Fei held a firecracker in his hand and said that his brother would come soon, and then we would see who was the strongest here. Juan announced that he would not go anywhere and allowed Yang Fei to call anyone here. Yang Fei set off a firecracker and said, "Arrow piercing the heavens," and asked everyone to wait for now. Fireworks appeared over the city, and everyone in the city heard the roar. Everyone was in a panic, wondering what's going on. Is it an earthquake? Yang Fei warned Xiao Chen that his brother was close and retribution was inevitable. Xiao Chen said that he was always prepared to face his opponent. Then Yang Fei's elder brother appeared with his servants, and he decided to deal with his younger brother's offenders. Yang Fei rushed to his brother with tears in his eyes and began to beg him for help, because he was one of the 4 great masters of this city. Moff announced that he had recently reached the late stage of the yellow stage, and that this scoundrel was nothing to him at all. Those around him began to discuss that this stranger would now have a hard time because Moff's strength was undeniable. Zhuan praised Moff. After all, reaching the late yellow stage at his age was not easy. Moff shouted for Zhuan not to even think about asking for mercy. Moff took out his sky-breaking fan from his pocket and slammed it down on his opponent with all his might. Xiao Chen stated that he had long since reached the same stage, and they clashed in a fierce battle. Fire and sparks flew in all directions, and energy was seething at the epicenter of the collision. At this moment, Yang Fei saw his powerful brother Mofa being thrown aside. His surprise knew no bounds. Lying on the ground, Moff couldn't understand how he managed to lose the fight. Moff's servants were also puzzled. How could this happen? Maybe it was the power of the innate spiritual roots? But then they would not be able to deal with this scoundrel. And all the servants began to run away in fear in different directions, so as not to be crushed by Xiao Chen. Everyone in the area began to laugh at the cowardly servants of the Fei family and their weak masters. Yang Fei was in tears and could not accept such a humiliating defeat for his family. At this moment, Xiao Chen asked him if he could spare a minute. The man, whining, agreed to listen to the winner. He had no choice anyway. Xiao Chen ordered Yang Fei to write as soon as possible that he was breaking off his engagement with Tangra, but he would not agree to terminate the marriage contract so easily. Yang Fei added that Zhu Ying could bully him as much as he wanted, but he would not break the marriage contract, and Tangra would become his legal wife. Zhu Wen was very surprised by the fat man's persistence and stubbornness, and I had to work on Jan's face again. The document to dissolve the marriage contract was eventually prepared and signed by Yang Fei. It was not difficult. Xiao Chen canceled the dissolution and said that this was what had to be done before unnecessary bloodshed could be avoided. Tangra rushed to embrace her savior. The priceless heavenly mushroom, by the way, was still in their possession. This is how business should be done, Xiao Chen thought. The girl asked her master where they were currently heading. Xiao Chen decided to take a stroll through the herbal shops. Perhaps they would find what they were looking for there. Yang Fei cursed them and hoped to get even. They hadn't found anything in the stores yet, and Tangra was a little upset. Xiao Chen tried to calm her down. Xiao Chen thought for a moment. After all, in every shop, as soon as they heard the name of the herbs, they were immediately rejected. Something was wrong, the young man decided, and then they saw how some old man was thrown out of the gate with the words, "Get out!" The man was holding some kind of plant in his hands. Xiao Chen immediately knew that it was a poisonous herb. There was no mistake. Someone shouted to the old man and said that this was an association of alchemists, not some kind of charlatan office, and he could distinguish weeds from poisonous herbs. The old man apologized, saying that it was indeed a poisonous herb and that he was not lying, but simply wanted to exchange it for pills for his granddaughter. Someone turned out to be a 3-star alchemist, and he couldn't let some old man teach him herbs. Those around him thought that the old man had gone completely mad, trying to contradict Mr. Chang. The poor old man begged for help and asked the alchemist to believe him that this was real high-quality herb and not some kind of fake. Zhao didn't stop and continued to insult the old man, asking who he was to tell this to a 3-star alchemist. And then someone grabbed Mr. Xiao's hand. Xiao Chen was indignant. Who dared to interfere with his administration of justice? Of course, it was Xiao Chen. He always found someone to save from trouble, and Mr. Xiao received a parting kick and was sent away. Mr. Xiao slammed his face into the wall of the building. Xiao immediately woke up. Blood poured out of his nose. He began to threaten Xiao Chen. No one dared to attack a 3-star alchemist, especially when he was on duty. Xiao Chen was very surprised that the Alchemist Association accepted such talentless nobodies into their ranks. who couldn't even tell the difference between a weed and a medicinal herb. Of course, the crowd around was quite surprised by the behavior of some youth who crossed the path of the respected Mr. Xiao. The alchemist, who had lost a couple of teeth after colliding with the wall, began calling for the guards to deal with the upstart scoundrel. The old man thanked Xiao Chen, but advised him to hurry up and leave there, as the association would never forgive such incidents. Xiao Chen didn't even think about leaving. He thought that there was something wrong with this old man since he was able to guess the medicinal herb in the plant, something that even a 3-star alchemist couldn't do. The old man began to make excuses, muttering something incoherent. At this moment, Chu Hain himself, the president of the Alchemist Association, came out. He was very surprised that there were fools in the world who could cause trouble for his association. Mr. Zhao immediately rushed to the president. He told him everything and said that this scoundrel was questioning the competence of a 3-star alchemist and asked him to teach the boy a lesson. The president wanted Xiao Chen to explain himself, otherwise he would face serious consequences. Everyone started muttering their own words. Zhao said that the young man had died. The old man said that it was his own fault. The young lady said that it would be a good idea to get out of here. Xiao Chen turned to the honorable president and admitted that the 3-star alchemist might not know. But the president should know that the medicinal herb has 7 thorns, unlike the weed which has 6. The alchemist began to reproach Xiao Chen for wanting to mislead the president, but the president shut the alchemist up. The president agreed with the child that it was a medicinal herb. The alchemist no longer believed the president, which confused him, and everyone in the area realized that the boy was right and Mr. Chan was wrong. The president responded to the alchemist by stating that he was not joking, and the alchemist had to admit his mistake, which was unforgivable. Xiao Chen suggested that the alchemist apologize to the old man, and everyone started shouting that the alchemist had been very unfair to the old man. The alchemist realized that Xiao Chen was mocking him and asked him what he wanted, but Xiao Chen suggested that the alchemist kneel down and ask the old man for forgiveness. People started to cheer the guy on, chanting slogans of support. But the alchemist was amazed by the young man's impudence and said that he would never agree to such a disgrace. The president supported Xiao Chen's idea and ordered the alchemist to kneel down, as he really needed the herb and wanted to buy it from the old man. The crowd continued to chant, demanding an apology from the alchemist, and the alchemist thought that he could not bear such embarrassment because even steam appeared on his face. Xiao Chen decided to help the alchemist by sending a beam of internal energy towards him, causing the alchemist to cower and fall to his knees. The alchemist began to threaten the young man again, saying that they just needed to know his name. But the young man immediately introduced himself as Xiao Chen, and everyone started remembering that this was the same guy who had already killed many. The alchemist told Xiao Chen that they would meet again and warned him not to relax. But Xiao Chen said that he was not afraid of anyone. The president apologized to the old man on behalf of the association and offered to buy the medicinal herb, realizing that the president is also hunting for this herb. The old man admitted that he wanted to cure his granddaughter, and if he were helped, he would gladly give up the herb. The president promised to cure the old man's granddaughter and invited him to follow him, and Xiao Chen announced that he also knew a little about medicine and wanted to join them. The people supported Xiao Chen's decision, and the president, realizing that the boy was not his equal, did not object. The old man led the whole group to his sick granddaughter, so they all came to the old man's hut, inviting everyone to come inside as she could not get up due to her illness. Xiao Chen thought that the old man was ordinary, but the grass might cause him trouble, so he gestured for his assistant to wait outside. Tang Ru wished him good luck. The poor girl lay barely alive on the bed, with an aura spreading around her, and Xiao Chen was shocked, wondering if she really had an innate body. The old man entrusted his granddaughter to the president of the association, who promised to cure her. However, Xiao Chen doubted that the president would be able to cope, since this was not an illness, but a side effect of the abnormal development of the innate body. The president said her meridians were severed, and her internal organs were severely damaged, because of which the old man became very upset and began to cry over his granddaughter's bed. The president offered the old man a pill that would help the girl live a few more years, and the old man thanked the president, intending to give him the healing herb. However, everyone noticed that Xiao Chen had disappeared somewhere. The president happily agreed to accept the gift from the old man's hands. But then Xiao Chen appeared again and proposed his own method of treatment. Xiao Chen announced that he could save the poor girl. Both the old man and the president tensed up, wondering how this was possible. It was decided that the boy was indeed very arrogant. The president warned the young man that his actions could harm the child. But the old man still had hope. Xiao Chen suggested that they just watch as he began. The president watched Xiao Chen's acupuncture technique with distrust. Xiao Chen explained that his target was the waypoint, the point where heaven and body met, the point of boundaries. The president could not believe his eyes. And when Xiao Chen touched the last point of the soul, the girl started coughing and began to come to her senses. The old man was amazed when his granddaughter woke up. She was overwhelmed with happiness that she had finally regained consciousness. The association president was very impressed by Xiao Chen's talent, realizing that the young alchemist had done what he could not. Xiao Chen confirmed to the old man that his granddaughter had now recovered, and there was no longer any need to worry. Everyone was stunned that Xiao Chen knew more about alchemy than even the president himself, and they were grateful. The old man gave Xiao Chen the original herb. Xiao Chen was overjoyed to realize that he now only needed to gather 3 ingredients before he could save his master, Yang. The president offered Xiao Chen the opportunity to become his disciple, promising that Xiao Chen's development would greatly accelerate. The crowd agreed that it was a generous offer, as the association's president was one of the 5 best alchemists in the kingdom. However, Xiao Chen declined the offer as his ambitions were much higher. Everyone was disappointed by Xiao Chen's refusal, thinking that such a chance only came once in a lifetime and should not be missed. The president guessed that Xiao Chen already had a teacher, given his innate spiritual roots, enormous spiritual strength, and amazing control. Although the president did not insist, he gave Xiao Chen a 3-star alchemist's plate, recognizing his talent. Xiao Chen accepted the gift with gratitude. Although many in the crowd felt it was unfair that Xiao Chen was promoted to the rank of 3-star alchemist without an examination, the president silenced them by reminding them that no one could match Xiao Chen's talent. After this, the crowd dispersed, and Xiao Chen asked the president if he knew where to find ice ginseng and heavenly dragon lotus. The president replied that these plants were as rare as the poisonous weed they grew here, but one of the lotuses was now in the possession of the Mo family, and the ginseng could be found in the Tiano Academy. Xiao Chen remembered this information, determined to find the plants at any cost. Before leaving, the president assured Xiao Chen that he could always count on his help, and they remained on good terms. After the president resigned, Xiao Chen turned to Tang Ru, but the recovered girl interrupted him, wanting to talk to her savior. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. The girl thanked him for saving her and suddenly asked when he would propose to her. Both Xiao Chen and Tang Ru were stunned. Since Xiao Chen never said anything about marriage, Tang Ru quickly intervened, telling the girl that her master was not looking for such trouble. The old man also began to dissuade his granddaughter, reminding her that they did not even know this young man properly. However, the girl insisted on her own, saying that her father always told her that anyone who could take care of her would be a good husband, and therefore, Xiao Chen must become her husband. Tang Ru tried to defuse the situation by stating that Xiao Chen had no plans to get married yet, but Xiao Chen just silently watched the 2 girls argue. With tears in his eyes, the old man again tried to convince his granddaughter, but Xiao Chen finally shouted at both of them, ordering them to shut up. The girls fell silent, turning away from each other indignantly, while Xiao Chen was upset by their scandalous behavior. The old man suggested that they leave, since his granddaughter now needed peace. Xiao Chen, observing the old man's manners, suspected that he was not the girl's grandfather, but most likely her servant. Because her body and spiritual roots were different from those of ordinary people, the old man admitted that Xiao Chen was right, but warned that Xiao Chen was now in danger of death. Suddenly pulling a sharp knife from his belt, Xiao Chen warned the old man not to take such jokes lightly and advised him to come to his senses. The old man apologized, but insisted that the identity of his mistress must remain a secret, and therefore Xiao Chen must die. He rushed at Xiao Chen with a knife, but his granddaughter screamed, demanding that he stop. Xiao Chen effortlessly stopped the old man's attack with 2 fingers and advised him to be more careful in the future. Shattering the blade with his powerful energy, the old man fell to his knees, sobbed, and asked who Xiao Chen really was. His granddaughter said Mr. Xiao was an honest and kind man, unlike the killer who was stalking her, and if he wanted her dead, she would have already disappeared. The old man, after listening to his granddaughter, decided to trust Xiao Chen. Then the girl decided to share her secret with Xiao Chen, asking him not to tell anyone else about it. Xiao Chen agreed and asked Tang Ru to go out so that he would not overhear their conversation. Tang Ru obeyed, but it was obvious that she was angry, and the girl began her story. Xiao Chen did not expect that the girl was a member of one of the most influential families in the region, the Lan family. One of his previous disciples also had the surname Lan, and a similar body structure. But Xiao Chen decided to think about it later. Right now, he needed to increase his own strength, so he began to discuss the formation of ancient symbols. Xiao Chen told his companion that he had managed to double the number of ancient symbols last night, but he had not yet fully restored his meridians. Xiao Chen suggested going to Tianlao Academy to obtain ice ginseng, and soon they reached the academy. There were a lot of people in the square in front of the academy, and Xiao Chen remembered that the best friend of the previous owner of his body studied there. He decided that they should pay him a visit. Young Fei stood in front of the main gate of Tianlao Academy as his thugs beat up a young man. Yan Fei stood next to the bouncer, gritting his teeth, and everyone was outraged that Yan Fei attacked a student right in front of the academy. Yan Fei admitted that he specifically looked for Sui because he was Xiao Chen's childhood friend. Sui flatly refused to help Yan Fei track down Xiao Chen, which angered Yan Fei. Yan Fei ordered his servants to break all of Sui's bones, hoping that he would confess where Xiao Chen was hiding. The bandits continued to beat poor Sui, but he remained silent. Even as the crowd shouted at Yan Fei to leave, Yan Fei turned to his Uncle He for help, knowing that he would take care of everything. Uncle He turned to the crowd, threatening to get rid of everyone. And the people were terrified. It seemed that Uncle He was very strong while on the earthly stage, and one guy mentioned that they had no chance of escape. Yan Fei said that no one else could help Sui, and this was his last chance to save his life. Sui gritted his teeth and told Yan Fei that sooner or later he would pay for the bullying. An enraged Yan Fei ordered his servants to kill Sui, and they were ready to carry out the order. Suddenly, someone shouted at them to stop, and a powerful stream of energy scattered the thugs. In all directions, it was Xiao Chen. Sui and Yan Fei recognized him immediately. Xiao Chen warned Yan Fei that he would definitely regret it, as attacking Xiao Chen's loved ones was a big mistake. Yan Fei threatened Xiao Chen, calling on Uncle He to support him. Uncle He heard the call and said that he was going to deal with this scoundrel, but Sui warned Xiao Chen to leave, as Uncle He was a master of the earthly stage. However, Xiao Chen remained calm and confident, clearly not intending to run away as he decided to accept the fight. Xiao Chen felt that no one here could handle him. Uncle He prepared for hand-to-hand combat, announcing that today Xiao Chen would acknowledge the full power of Luo Pavilion. Yan Fei was happy, thinking that Xiao Chen was finally finished. But Sui was afraid and again advised Xiao Chen to leave quickly. What Uncle He saw next amazed him. Xiao Chen raised the plate with 3 stars in front of him. Xiao Chen declared that he was a 3-star alchemist from the Alchemist Association and therefore could not be offended. Everyone around started to protest loudly, while Yan Fei was surprised and wondered where Xiao Chen got this plate from. Xiao Chen calmly explained that he had received it only recently. Yan Fei decided that Xiao Chen was just lucky today and that Uncle He would deal with him next time. The crowd continued to discuss what was happening. Tang Man, a teacher from Tianlao Academy, appeared. Tang Man was surprised that someone dared to make such a spectacle right in front of the gates of the academy. Xiao Chen noted that this teacher had a very strong aura and might be able to help him obtain the plant he needed. Yan Fei began to explain that they were having a training match, but Xiao Chen intervened and easily beat up Yan Fei's servants, leaving him no choice. Everyone around was outraged by Yan Fei's behavior. But Sui finally decided to tell the truth to his teacher. Sui knelt down in front of his teacher and explained that Yan Fei was looking for Xiao Chen to get rid of him. The teacher ordered them both to be silent immediately. He asked Xiao Chen if he was really who he said he was, and Xiao Chen confirmed. The teacher then asked if Xiao Chen knew what happened to people who caused trouble in Tianlao Academy. Xiao Chen replied that he didn't know and didn't want to know, but if the academy had students like Yan Fei, then the academy was disappointing. The teacher became angry, saying that Xiao Chen was being too impudent, and everyone around agreed that Xiao Chen was deliberately provoking him. Yan Fei was happy, believing that the teacher would now deal with Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen's childhood friend suddenly stood up for him, admitting that it was his fault and asking him not to punish Xiao Chen. Tang Man told Suyu not to talk nonsense since Xiao Chen had done nothing wrong. Xiao Chen noted to himself that although the teacher seemed warlike, there was no real danger emanating from him. Teacher Tang praised Xiao Chen, calling him an incomparable genius, and offered to take him as a student. He promised to teach Xiao Chen everything he knew, which would greatly facilitate his path in martial arts. Everyone around was surprised by the sudden change in the teacher's behavior, wondering why he changed his mind. Yan Fei began to urge the teacher to respect the academy, warning that its reputation could be damaged. Teacher Tang yelled at Yan Fei, tired of his lies, and eventually let him go. Yan Fei was confused and tried to make excuses, but Xiao Chen asked the teacher what kind of punishment would be appropriate for a person like Yan Fei. The teacher said that because of Yanfei's past, he should be treated leniently, but he needed a lesson in good manners. Xiao Chen suggested that he deal with Yanfei himself. Saying, "This is for my brother," Yanfei punched him. The second blow came with the words, "This is because you dared to threaten me." And the third, "This is for being such a pig." Yanfei flew to the side, blood gushing from his nose. And he began to threaten Sui and Xiao Chen, swearing that he would return. However, Teacher Tang became furious and kicked Yanfei out of the square, while Uncle He carried away his nephew. The crowd rejoiced at Xiao Chen's victory and laughed at Yanfei's defeat. Teacher Tang again invited Xiao Chen to become his disciple, acknowledging that Xiao Chen had solved his problem. Xiao Chen promised to think about it, but only on the condition that Teacher Tang would take Sui as his disciple. Sui resisted, insisting that his earthly spiritual roots made him unworthy of such a position. The crowd wondered why Xiao Chen didn't immediately agree to Teacher Tang's proposal, since it was such an honor. Xiao Chen asked the teacher if he would accept this offer, and Master Tang agreed, accepting Sui as his disciple. Xiao Chen suggested that Sui thank his teacher, and Sui was stunned by this turn of events, knelt down to pay his respects. The teacher ordered Sui to quickly stand up, promising to protect him, and Sui in turn should not disgrace his teacher. At this moment, a woman from the crowd offered her services to Xiao Chen, saying that he was very lucky. But Xiao Chen was not interested in this proposal. He called the woman a transgender and kicked her in the leg, sending her flying. Xiao Chen then suggested to Su Yu that they hurry up and go to the academy since they had already agreed on everything here. Xiao Chen asked if Teacher Tang would go with them, to which Teacher Tang replied that it was now Xiao Chen's turn to accept him as a disciple. Xiao Chen and Teacher Tang began to quarrel over who would be the teacher and who would be the student. Meanwhile, in a completely different place, the Yang family estate, Xiao Chen decided that it was time to deal with Yang Fei for daring to insult Sui. Xiao Chen reached into his bosom, pulling out a piece of paper that he thought would come in handy. He threw the scrap towards the armed guards, who were surprised by his sudden appearance. One of the guards picked him up and turned him around. It turned out to be a document of dissolution of engagement signed by Yang Fei. The guard decided to tell the young gentleman about this document. Xiao Chen was glad that his bait worked, and he quickly moved to another part of the estate. At this moment, the servant was already reporting the discovery to Yang Fei, who was furious at being distracted from an important task. The servant handed Yang Fei the document, and after reading it, Yang Fei became furious, suspecting that Xiao Chen had infiltrated the manor. While discussing this issue, they heard someone scream. The guards were on the verge, but before anyone could draw their blade, his head was cut off, leaving Yang Fei in horror. There was a clap of thunder, and Xiao Chen appeared at the door, causing Yang Fei to scream in fear. Xiao Chen mocked Yang Fei, assuming that he would guess why he came. Yang Fei, trembling, tried to calm Xiao Chen down, urging him to negotiate, but Xiao Chen didn't agree. Xiao Chen warned Yang Fei that since he was playing with people's lives, it would only be fair if they did the same to him, and even Yang Fei's father would not be able to save him. Yang Fei, now horrified, began to beg for mercy, promising that he would not do it again. But Xiao Chen did not believe him. Xiao Chen told him that he would never forgive those who threatened his loved ones, and whoever touched them would regret it for the rest of their lives. With tears in his eyes, Yang Fei once again begged for mercy. But Xiao Chen raised his hand. Thunder sounded. Yang Fei lay motionless on the floor, and Xiao Chen, as he left, felt satisfied that his mission was accomplished. The women who were waiting for Yang Fei in his room decided to take a rest, but were horrified when they found his lifeless body. They screamed for help, alarming the guards, who quickly dispersed around the perimeter of the estate to find the villain. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman who was watching from afar was shocked that Xiao Chen dared to deal with the son of the Luo Pavilion's leader. Pavilion Chief Luo arrived, saw his son's body, and listened to the guards' report. He asked if anyone had seen the person responsible, but the women said they saw nothing, only heard someone calling for Yang Fei. The guards handed Pavilion Head Luo a letter of engagement termination, confirming that Xiao Chen was the prime suspect. The enraged owner of the pavilion ordered the destruction of anyone who stood in his way. He was told that his order would be carried out, and vowed to personally deal with Xiao Chen. He said it didn't matter who killed his son. Everyone involved would be held accountable. Xiao Chen handed Tang Ru a set of letters, instructing her to deliver them to Tang Ming of the Tianlao Academy and Chu Han of the Alchemist Association. He also advised Tang Zhu to stay in the Alchemist Association since the capital would soon become a bit noisy. Tang Ru, afraid for her master, asked if anyone was threatening him again. Xiao Chen admitted that he had dealings with Yang Fei. This scared Tang Ru, as she knew that Yang Fei's father would not let this go unpunished. Xiao Chen reassured her, telling her not to worry and to follow his instructions. Tang Ru agreed, but she hoped that Xiao Chen would be okay. Xiao Chen explained that he couldn't leave the capital yet because he needed some medicinal herbs from Tianlao Academy. Inside the Tianlao Academy, events were moving quickly, and Sui asked the new arrivals who they were. The owner of the Luo Pavilion said that he was looking for Xiao Chen there, and that he couldn't find him, but he knew who was taking care of Su, so he came. Tang Sui suddenly appeared, and a bloody battle ensued, in which people scattered in all directions, except for the owner of the Luo Pavilion and the academy teacher. The pavilion owner asked why Tang Ming was there at all, to which Tang Ming replied that Sui was his disciple and he would protect him. The owner of the pavilion did not like this development of events. Knowing that Tang Ming was stronger and that the entire academy was behind him, Sui hoped that nothing would happen to Xiao Chen, but Tang Ming reassured him, saying that Xiao Chen always came out on top in trouble. In the Association of Alchemists, the president was surprised by the appearance of strangers and asked Mr. Yang if this was a declaration of war. Mr. Yang explained that he was not looking for trouble with the association, but he had personal problems with Xiao Chen. The president laughed, claiming that Xiao Chen was too young to have entered the manor undetected and dealt with Yang Fei. Mr. Yang thought the same thing, but it didn't matter. He still wanted to deal with Yao Chen. The president noted that Xiao Chen had not been seen for a long time, so Mr. Yang would have to look more carefully. Mr. Yang then decided to take Tang Ru as collateral, blaming her for everything. Tang Ru protested. However, Mr. Yang insisted that she was to blame and would have to answer for it. The association president stood up for Tang Ru, saying that he would not allow her to be kidnapped. Mr. Yang calmly stated that he was not afraid of the Alchemist Association or the Academy. Master Yang ordered his guards to deal with Tang Ru at any cost, while the president called on his security detail to fight back. Both sides prepared for battle, but at the moment when they were about to collide, someone shouted at them to stop. Mr. Yang was unhappy that his servants were slow, and here appeared Xiao Chen, appearing in all his glory. The president and Tang Ru were shocked to see Xiao Chen. Mr. Yang was furious, and Xiao Chen noticed that he had heard rumors that Luo Pavilion was roaming the city and killing people. Xiao Chen asked what happened, but Mr. Yang angrily blamed him for everything. Xiao Chen demanded proof of his guilt. However, the pavilion owner stated that he did not care about the evidence and ordered his guards to seize Xiao Chen. The president reminded Mr. Yang that this was not his pavilion and ordered his security to stop the attackers. A serious fight ensued, and Mr. Yang demanded to fight Xiao Chen one-on-one. The president shouted that Mr. Yang was a cunning old man, while Tang Ru advised Xiao Chen to dodge his attacks. Mr. Yang warned Xiao Chen that he would have a hard time, but Xiao Chen simply called him pathetic. Xiao Chen released his internal energy, and a huge sword thrust into the ground shocked everyone. Mr. Yang warned the others not to interfere in their fight, otherwise it would make things worse for everyone. At that moment, a beautiful stranger appeared, scolding Mr. Yan for his lack of restraint. It was the vice-rector of Tianlao Academy, who declared that in the presence of the academy, no one would dare to insult Xiao Chen. Mr. Yang yelled at Yang Qingxia, demanding that she not interfere. Xiao Chen pointed out that he had only asked for Sui's care in the letter, but the vice-director had taken the initiative to offer her help. Mr. Yang asked what Xiao Chen wanted. Xiao Chen explained that the table was made from 1,000-year-old wood, chair made from the heart of an ancient tree, and a teapot from the ancient emperor's era. The deputy director pretended not to know the value of these items, realizing that Xiao Chen was just trying to be difficult. Xiao Chen then announced that pavilion leader Luo could pay off his debt for 100,000 spiritual stones. Mr. Yang was furious and shouted that everyone was trying to rob him. Xiao Chen agreed, stating that robbing Mr. Yang was exactly what he wanted. Mr. Yang, seething with anger, declared that he was one of the most influential people in the capital, and that Xiao Chen would not succeed even with influential support. Xiao Chen and others began to threaten Mr. Yang, telling him that he could not leave without paying. Mr. Yang reluctantly agreed and handed over a check for 100,000 spiritual stones. Xiao Chen thanked him and joked that next time the association might need even more expensive furniture. The owner of the pavilion angrily announced that he was leaving with his servants. He ordered his men to go to the third prince's palace and accept his offer if the prince agreed to deal with Xiao Chen. Mr. Yang claimed that Xiao Chen had forced him to act despite the support of the Alchemist Association. But there were still people in the kingdom that he couldn't afford to offend. Xiao Chen expressed his gratitude to President Chu, asking him not to refuse his appreciation. The president said that Xiao Chen didn't need to worry, as he was simply protecting a valuable member of the Alchemist Association. The president was alarmed, but Xiao Chen gave him the recipe for the ancient pill as a token of gratitude. "Elder, you have a keen eye and you are absolutely right," Xiao Chen said, then added that it would be best not to attract attention to himself. The president agreed, shoving the recipe deeper into his pocket, and said that he needed to go into seclusion and that they should help Xiao Chen if something happened. Now Xiao Chen decided to deal with the vice-chancellor, thinking that if she found him herself, it meant she was up to something. Xiao Chen thanked Teacher Tang and Vice Principal Yan for their help. Vice-Chancellor Yan said there was no need for formalities, adding that she expected Xiao Chen to respond to her someday. Xiao Chen replied that her words were too vague. Everyone was worried that Xiao Chen had refused her without even listening to her request. Yan was intrigued because Xiao Chen was the first man who could refuse her. The old man advised Xiao Chen not to anger the woman and to agree to her proposal, warning that she could be unpredictable. Xiao Chen thanked the old man, but said that he was used to being in control of his own life. The woman got angry, saying that Xiao Chen would regret this and she wanted to see how he would react in the future. Her eye of rising azure shone. She glared at Xiao Chen as he left. She began to threaten that if Xiao Chen did not agree, he would suffer in her spirit world until she was satisfied. Xiao Chen was surprised by her mention of the spiritual world, and his inner spirit rose above him in response. He told the woman that she didn't seem to understand the difference between their two powers. She was horrified to realize that she was in Xiao Chen's spirit world, and looking straight into his face. Xiao Chen picked her up and brought her face close to his. Then he threw her to the ground with a crash. The woman screamed in fear, begging not to take her to the spirit world, and urged no one to come near her. The teacher ran up to her and asked if she was okay, and the vice principal admitted that she was fine, but wondered what kind of monster Xiao Chen really was. She was shocked, admitting that Xiao Chen almost broke her soul with one look. Xiao Chen warned her that he would not spare her next time. He recognized her as the one who followed him to the Yang Manor, and he was lucky that she only tried to threaten him using her spiritual world. The vice principal asked Xiao Chen to stop, and he asked what was the matter. She admitted that she knew that Xiao Chen was looking for the ice ginseng, and if he agreed to her offer, she would help him get it. Xiao Chen demanded that she immediately tell him the location of the ice ginseng, and so Xiao Chen found himself in a hotel room, opening his eyes and realizing that he had almost reached the true peak of the yellow stage. He realized that he didn't have much time left, as he would soon enter the black stage and become many times stronger than ordinary cultivators. When Xiao Chen left the room, he decided it was time to get another ingredient for Qing Yang. Meanwhile, in the third prince's palace, several girls were flirting with Xiao Chen. A messenger arrived, informing him that the head of the Luo Pavilion had agreed to the prince's terms and sent a large sum of money. Now the prince had only to get rid of Xiao Chen. The third prince remarked that he had heard Xiao Chen's name before and would have to look for him. The prince remembered that Aunt Sha had asked him to destroy Xiao Chen in her last letter. The prince decided to kill two birds with one stone, planning to send someone to the black stage to deal with Xiao Chen since the boy was only at the yellow stage. The servant assured the prince that everything would be taken care of. Xiao Chen arrived at Tianlao Academy, where everyone began to recognize him, noting that the vice principal and the president of the Alchemist Association stood up for him. Xiao Chen met with Sui and assured him that everything would be fine now. Sui told Xiao Chen that he needed to go to class, and Xiao Chen replied that he had things to do. Suddenly, a scream was heard from the bushes, and both boys stopped dead in their tracks. A group of hooligans appeared, the boldest of whom demanded a fee for using the road. But in response, he received a slap in the face. Xiao Chen declared that this scoundrel was a complete idiot if he didn't understand that such things couldn't be done in Tianlao Academy. Xiao Chen guessed that the hooligans wouldn't have thought of this on their own, and demanded to know who sent them. The impudent thug told Xiao Chen that it was his problem since he had crossed the third prince. Everyone immediately pointed out that Xiao Chen was unlucky, as the third prince was the strongest disciple in Tianlao Academy. The students pointed out that since Xiao Chen had innate spiritual roots, all the geniuses would want to destroy him before he became stronger. Sui warned Xiao Chen that the third prince was already at the middle stage of the Black Step, and they should avoid confrontation. However, Xiao Chen stated that he was eager to test his new powers. The attacker, confident in himself, decided to use his move, Ocean Palm Strike. But something went wrong as Xiao Chen's internal strength fought back. The next moment, the attacker was already lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth. Xiao Chen noticed that all of the third prince's followers seemed to be nobodies. The crowd was astonished, wondering how Xiao Chen had managed to defeat a man who was an entire step above him. Sui was delighted with Xiao Chen and praised his strength. Xiao Chen ordered the hooligans to get lost and next time send the third prince himself, not some trash. The hooligans scattered, muttering that they would return and that the third prince would come for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen concluded that judging from these minions, the third prince probably didn't pose much of a threat either. Sui hurried Xiao Chen, reminding him that they needed to go to class as the teacher was about to start, and she would punish anyone who was late. The students in the classroom heard the teacher's footsteps. She entered gracefully, her dress moving elegantly in time with her steps. But the students saw that she was angry. Everyone groaned, realizing that everyone would get into trouble because of the latecomers. The teacher threw a list of students in the class on the table and demanded to know who was late. At that moment, the door creaked open, and Sui and Xiao Chen stood at the threshold, out of breath from running. Sui loudly apologized for being late, and the teacher was seething with anger, asking how they dared to be late. Sui whined, begging the teacher for mercy and promising never to be late again. Sui called on Xiao Chen to apologize as well, warning him that the teacher was the king's own daughter and it was unwise to anger her. Xiao Chen immediately realized that this was not just an ordinary class, as it was led by the king's daughter and included the third prince among his students. The teacher ordered them to be silent and demanded that they bring 50 handwritten copies of the book, The Theory of Formations, by the following day. The students began to make noise, saying that they were lucky, since last time those who arrived late were unable to walk for a long time. Sui complained that it was impossible to write 50 copies, but Xiao Chen hesitated for a moment, thinking that the formation theory seemed familiar to him. The teacher, hearing Sui's comments, increased the requirement to 60 copies. Sui decided to remain silent, realizing that arguing would only make the situation worse. However, Xiao Chen refused to remain silent and offered to talk to the teacher. The teacher became suspicious, thinking that Xiao Chen was up to something, but he did not believe that he would succeed. She didn't care who Xiao Chen was, even if the vice principal protected him. Xiao Chen explained that she had misunderstood his intentions, adding that he knew the theory of formations by heart. There was no point in rewriting it. The class burst into laughter, finding Xiao Chen's claim impossible. The teacher agreed that if Xiao Chen could truly recite the book by heart, there would be no need to rewrite it, and he would receive a top grade. Xiao Chen accepted the challenge confidently, and the teacher added that if he failed, she would punish him severely. Sui, still skeptical, urged Xiao Chen to stop arguing and just complete the task. Xiao Chen remembered that in his previous life he had written the formation theory, and he didn't expect that his work would reach such a distant place. Sui excitedly told Xiao Chen to show the teacher who was boss, and Xiao Chen smiled, agreeing with his friend. The teacher, impatient, suggested that they start the test immediately, explaining that the book contained 85 articles, each of which contained 3,000 types of constructions. She warned Xiao Chen that if he made even one mistake, he would fail the exam. The students protested, saying that this was unfair, since no one could have such knowledge even after completing the entire course of study at the academy. Sui muttered that the teacher just wanted Xiao Chen to fail. Xiao Chen replied that if he lost, Sui would be at the disposal of the teacher. Everyone was amazed that Zhao Qin agreed to quote everything. How could he be so confident in himself? Sui, clearly upset, didn't like the idea. But Xiao Chen calmed him down, telling him to watch and see who was in charge. Xiao Chen stomped his foot decisively and signaled the teacher to begin. The teacher said that she would listen carefully to every word. Xiao Chen began by explaining that there were 3 main aspects of a formation: its type, its center, and its soul, adding that while the first 2 were not that important, the third played an exceptional role. Everyone started saying that this didn't mean anything yet, and that Xiao Chen would definitely make a mistake somewhere. The teacher said that these were just the basics and that they would see how he did next. Xiao Chen continued speaking without any mistakes, and after 10 minutes, he felt as if the book was right in his head. Xiao Chen sat on a chair reading a book, and Sui was delighted by what was happening. An hour later, nothing had changed. Xiao Chen delivered the story without making a single mistake. Teacher Xiao was astonished, wondering how this was possible. Xiao Chen concluded his speech by adding that he hoped his work would benefit the next generation. Xiao Chen said that he had done his part of the job, and now the teacher had to fulfill his part of the contract. Everyone started praising Xiao Chen, asking him to reveal his secret. One student even said that she wanted to have children with him. Xiao Chen smiled, expecting the teacher to fulfill his promise. Teacher Xiao said that he was celebrating too early, claiming that she had discovered a mistake and that he had lost the bet. Xiao Chen disagreed, saying that it was impossible, because he himself wrote the book and knew it better than anyone else. The teacher objected, saying that Xiao Chen had claimed that only a formation with a soul could be considered a true formation. But everyone knew that the center of the formation played the main role, and the soul was not always necessary. Everyone started checking the textbook and saw that Teacher Xiao was right. Xiao Chen remained calm, stating that the problem was that their textbooks were missing a page. Xiao Chen thought that too much time had passed, and it was no wonder that his teachings had not been properly preserved. Teacher Xiao accused Xiao Chen of making excuses by claiming that their textbooks were wrong and wondering how formations could function without a soul if their effects were fully manifested without one. Xiao Chen replied that the formation soul, like the heart in the human body, was necessary for the overall balance and functioning. He asked why a person needed two hearts, catching Master Xiao off guard. Xiao added that he thought so. Xiao Chen explained further, saying that Teacher Xiao knew the basics well enough to create formations, but their true power depended on the person who created them. Teacher Xiao repeated the phrase, "Strength depends on the person," trying to understand what Xiao Chen meant. Xiao Chen, feeling that he had nothing more to say, turned around and headed towards the exit, saying that he had more important things to do. Everyone was puzzled as they didn't quite understand what Xiao Chen was talking about. However, Teacher Xiao laughed, realizing that Xiao Chen was right. She said that if a person had two hearts, his strength would increase many times over, giving him a second life to cultivate. Teacher Xiao was amazed by Xiao Chen's insight, asking where he went. Sui told her that Xiao Chen had left, but promised to return. Teacher Xiao was upset because she still had a lot of things she wanted to discuss with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen remembered what Yang Qingxia had told him. The ice ginseng was located in the death zone, a place that no disciple had heard of and seemed to be one of the academy's secrets. Xiao Chen read the letter from Chu Hain, asking him to come to the Alchemist Association immediately, saying that he had discovered something. Xiao Chen noticed that the letter was not from Chu Hain, so he tore it into pieces and threw it away, wondering who was trying to trick him into joining the association. Meanwhile, President Q and many others gathered around the golden cauldron, watching as a milky liquid began to flow out from there. Suddenly, a pill of absolute calmness appeared from the cauldron, the legendary 6-star pill. Everyone was shocked, wondering how a 5-star alchemist could create such a pill. There were 3 heavenly clouds on the pill, indicating its highest quality. President Q was declared the strongest alchemist. The old man waved his hand and summoned the pill to him, and it landed on his palm. He proudly told Chu Hain that it was a 6-star pill and invited him to inspect it. After spending a fortune, President Q finally discovered a way to boost his mental abilities. As the new president of the association, he gathered the necessary ingredients to try again. Chu Hain admitted defeat and declared President Q the winner. Presidential servant Q announced that since Chu Hain had lost, he would have to hand over the presidency. Chu Hain agreed, acknowledging that these were the rules. The old man decided to issue his first decree as president. From today on, every member of the association must pay an annual fee of 1,000 spirit stones, and a 10% tax will be levied on all pill sales. Everyone was outraged, warning that they could leave the association. The old man angrily declared that they could leave, but they would forever be denied access to the association's ingredients, and no store in the capital would sell them to them. The participants thought about it and began to regret what had happened. Suddenly, someone expressed disagreement. It was Xiao Chen, the defender of the downtrodden and oppressed. Xiao Chen accused the old man of simply wanting to profit from the members of the association. The old man admitted that he had been waiting for Xiao Chen for a long time, adding that he never thought the letter would work. Xiao Chen called the old man stupid. The old man's servant noticed that Xiao Chen had a strained relationship with the head of the Luo Pavilion, and if he were to capture Xiao Chen now, he would end up in their debt. The old man liked this idea and decided to issue a decree. Xiao Chen insulted the old man, calling him despicable and saying that he had no dignity. Xiao Chen vowed to prove that he was better and kicked the old man out of the association. The old man laughed and said that there was no one better than him in alchemy, boasting that he was a 6-star alchemist while Xiao Chen was only a 3-star. Xiao Chen declared that the old man's arrogance must end, and he suggested conducting a test of alchemical abilities to determine which of them was better. Everyone was astonished, wondering if Xiao Chen really wanted to challenge the old man in alchemy skills. The former president advised Xiao Chen not to humiliate himself, as reality could be very cruel. Xiao Chen assured everyone that they would see what happened next, and the former president wished him luck. The old man's servant advised Xiao Chen to give up so as not to get into an awkward situation. Xiao Chen grinned and invited them to take a closer look. A clot of energy appeared in Xiao Chen's hand, and many medicinal herbs flew around it. Xiao Chen directed the herbs into the cauldron, inviting the old man to witness true mastery. The cauldron began to bubble, and the spirits of various mystical animals hovered above it. Everyone noted that these were ancient spirits that had been sealed in the association's main furnace for a long time, and now they had awakened. The old man's servant was shocked by what was happening, and suggested that perhaps Xiao Chen was cheating. The old man insisted on waiting, as the appearance of spirits would only make the preparation of the pills much more difficult. Suddenly, there was an explosion, and Xiao Chen began the formation process, creating a huge pill. Everyone admired the pill and praised Xiao Chen for his achievement. The old man could not believe it, realizing that now he would have to leave the association. The president recognized Xiao Chen as the greatest genius of all time. Xiao Chen showed the old man the golden pill and declared that he had lost. The old man left upset, muttering that this was not the last time they would see him. The old man's servant ran after him, not wanting to fall behind. But Xiao Chen stopped him. The servant protested, stating that internal conflicts within the association were prohibited. Xiao Chen accused the servant of betraying the association's laws and recruiting an enemy into its ranks. The crowd began to shout that the servant should be expelled from the association. The servant called the old man for help, saying that he was his disciple. The old man turned around and said that he shouldn't have invited Xiao Chen to the association. Things would be different now. The servant cried out in despair that this could not be the end for him. Xiao Chen declared that the servant was a traitor and deserved to be abandoned even by his own master. The servant is furious, and he said that he was ready to deal with Xiao Chen. Tried to attack Xiao Chen but missed. Xiao Chen dodged, and a quick kick in the servant's heel sent him flying into the abyss. There was silence, and everyone saw the villain lying motionless on the ground. Everyone started saying that it was a great success, and now the traitor was finished. The president thanked Xiao Chen for saving the Alchemist Association, adding that the position of president rightfully belongs to the young man. Xiao Chen replied that he was doing well, but he didn't want to become president at all. The president then proposed to grant Xiao Chen the position of honorary president. Xiao Chen thought for a moment, but everyone started clapping, greeting the new honorary president with a standing ovation. Xiao Chen asked everyone present to stand up and said that he agreed to accept the position. Xiao Chen thought that Chu Hain was very smart since he managed to lure him into the Alchemist Association. At this moment, someone from the street started shouting for Xiao Chen to come out. Xiao Chen thought that someone else had come to cause trouble and prepared to meet him with his fierce fist. Xiao Chen walked out and saw many well-armed people. The association president asked what brought the third prince to the association. The third prince said that he came for Xiao Chen because he had injured his bodyguard and should be held responsible. Xiao Chen said that he could now explain everything. The servant told the third prince that Xiao Chen was too arrogant and should be taught a lesson immediately. Xiao Chen explained that his subordinate had set up an ambush for him, and Xiao Chen had merely fought back. The third prince said that if Xiao Chen did not submit, he would face a fate worse than death. Xiao Chen said that he would disappoint the third prince because he did not agree with him. A glance began to exchange between them, and the tension grew. Everyone was outraged that Xiao Chen himself provoked the third prince, thinking that he would not get away with it. The prince angrily declared that Xiao Chen had lived long enough, and that not a single living soul should remain in the city after it had been insulted. Xiao Chen agreed that he had offended the prince, but asked what they would do about it now. The third prince declared that he would now teach Xiao Chen a lesson he would never forget. The prince ordered his guards to seize Xiao Chen and break his bones. The guards followed the order and moved towards Xiao Chen with weapons. Then the incredible happened. The president of the Alchemists Association intervened in the confrontation. The third prince was outraged, saying that the president should not interfere in a squabble over a minor alchemist. Otherwise, they would become enemies. The president responded that there had been a misunderstanding. Xiao Chen was not just an alchemist. He was the honorary president and enjoyed the protection of the entire association. The third prince was indignant, wondering how this was possible. His servant assumed it was some kind of joke and said it couldn't be true. Everyone knew that if this was true, only a few people in the city would dare to cross Xiao Chen. The third prince began to threaten the president, warning that if he lied, there would be serious consequences. The president replied that everyone in the area already knew about it, and invited the prince to ask around. Everyone present confirmed that if anyone touched Xiao Chen, he would have to deal with the entire Alchemist Association. The third prince realized that he couldn't do anything to Xiao Chen today. Xiao Chen mocked the third prince, asking why the servants hadn't arrested him yet. The servants, fearing trouble with the Alchemist Association, hesitated. The third prince said that it was time for everyone to go home, but Xiao Chen stopped him. Xiao Chen stated that he would not let the third prince go so easily since the prince had come to deal with him. The third prince angrily asked Xiao Chen what he wanted. Xiao Chen replied that since the prince had slandered him, he must pay for it. Members of the association began to demand an apology from the third prince. The prince reluctantly apologized and said that Xiao Chen was at his disposal. Zhou Tian, the prince's subordinate, began to beg the third prince not to do this and save him from retribution. Xiao Chen grabbed Zhou Tian's shoulder and ordered him to stand still. But Zhou Tian continued to beg for mercy. Zhou Tian even offered to reveal all the secrets of the third prince. But Xiao Chen said that he was not interested. Xiao Chen punched Zhou Tian in the back with such force that his fist pierced his chest, causing blood to gush out of Zhou Tian's mouth. Zhou Tian fell to the ground unconscious, and Xiao Chen thought, "Another villain has been defeated." Everyone started saying that Xiao Chen was so determined and that Zhou Tian got what he deserved. Xiao Chen thanked the association president for his support, saying he would never forget it. The association president responded that they had done what the respected association president deserved, and the rest of the members agreed. Xiao Chen said that since he had settled his affairs here, he would return to the academy. The president warned that the third prince was vengeful and would seek revenge, but in the academy, the association would not be able to help Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen replied that he was not afraid of the third prince, and if the prince wanted to come to the academy, let him come. The association president swore that if anything happened to Xiao Chen, he would avenge him, even if it meant the collapse of the entire kingdom. In the third prince's mansion, in a fit of anger, the prince smashed the cup on the floor. Unable to calm down, the third prince swore that he would take revenge on Xiao Chen. A servant approached the third prince with a plan to deal with Xiao Chen. The third prince warned the servant not to enter into conflict with the Alchemist Association. The servant said that Xiao Chen's younger brother, Xiao A, had just returned after gaining new life experiences and wanted to get rid of his brother. Since Xiao A's involvement might affect the Mari family, the Alchemist Association would not interfere. The third prince, satisfied with the plan, ordered his servant to contact Xiao A immediately. The third prince believed that Xiao Chen would not escape retribution this time. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen had already arrived at the academy. Teacher Insui warned Xiao Chen that someone was trying to harm him. Xiao Chen was surprised because he thought he was harmless and wondered how he could have enemies. The teacher said that she heard Xiao A and Xiao Chen's older brother Xiao A want to kill Xiao Chen. Sui added that Xiao A was the best cultivator in the Swan realm, and it would be wise for Xiao Chen to lay low for a while. Xiao Chen refused to hide, saying that he had long wanted to meet Xiao A. The teacher admitted that she had to go through a lot of trouble to get this information, and that she didn't want to see Xiao Chen die, so she advised him to follow her. Xiao Chen thanked the teacher, but said that Xiao A did not frighten him at all. Suddenly a voice rang out, startling the group. Since they had no time to hide, Xiao Chen remained completely calm. It was Xiao A who said that he was very happy to see his dear brother Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen replied that he was also glad to see Xiao A. They stood opposite each other, and the tension between them increased. Sui stood between them, urging Xiao Chen to run while he held Xiao A back. Xiao A became furious, stating that he only wanted to exchange a few words with his younger brother. But Sui did not allow him to do so. Xiao A asked Suya if he was seeking death, and then released a blue flame towards Suya. The flames quickly caught up with Sui, who was surprised by its speed and strength. At this moment, Xiao Chen appeared next to Sui and managed to reflect the flames, protecting him. Everything happened very quickly, but Xiao Chen successfully protected Sui and advised him to be more careful in the future. Sui was frightened by the power of the flames. Xiao A ordered Sui to leave immediately, since this only concerned members of the Mari family. Sui agreed, realizing that he was still too weak to face Xiao A and that he needed to improve his skills. Xiao A praised Xiao Chen for successfully reflecting his energy. Saying that he was proud of his younger brother for blocking his white sun flame, Xiao A noted that Xiao Chen was no longer the scoundrel he used to be. Xiao Chen sarcastically told Xiao A not to act like a perfect older brother. Xiao Chen promised to make Xiao A pay for all the suffering he caused him over the years. Xiao A thought that his younger brother was foolish. believing that awakening his inner spiritual roots would make him capable of resisting him. Xiao A thought that Xiao Chen had forgotten what it meant to beg for mercy. Everyone around was surprised that Xiao Chen was not afraid and challenged his elder brother, despite the difference in strength. Xiao A perfected his white sunfire technique, making it grandiose and capable of wielding the power of 5 suns. Viewers wondered if Xiao A would be able to restrain his power, since Xiao Chen was his younger brother. I never thought he would be so easy to lure. The teacher was shocked that Xiao Chen accepted the challenge, while Sui decided not to interfere since it was a family matter. Xiao A was ready to attack. He just needed a small excuse to prove his younger brother's worthlessness. Xiao Chen mocked Xiao A, saying that he also wanted to see his older brother's futile attempts. Xiao A stated that his younger brother relied too much on his bloodline, and warning that nothing could resist absolute power, Xiao A told his brother to disappear. The teacher and Sui warned Xiao Chen to be careful, or better yet, to retreat. Xiao Chen noticed that his brother's attack might be powerful, but it still had its flaws. Xiao Chen activated the second-tier ancient god mark, surprising Xiao A. Xiao A didn't expect this turn of events and was shocked. Xiao Chen didn't stop there and used the fiery fist of fury technique on his brother. Xiao Chen threw a right hook, saying, "This is for bullying your little brother all these years." Blood gushed out of Xiao A's mouth. Xiao Chen continued his left hook attack, chanting, "This is for disrespecting elders and insulting our mother." Xiao A's whole face was covered in blood. Xiao Chen delivered the final, crushing blow, accompanying it with the words, "This is because you are a coward and the eldest son of the Marcus family who acts like someone's servant." Xiao Chen declared that such a scoundrel was the weak link of their family. Xiao A couldn't withstand such blows and fell to the ground. Xiao A couldn't understand how he managed to lose to his younger brother. To top it all off, Xiao Chen kicked his opponent, and Xiao A fell to the ground with a thud. Xiao Chen stated that times had changed, and that he was now an incomparable genius with innate spiritual roots, while Xiao A was now just a small bug that could be easily crushed. Everyone was surprised that the invincible warrior of the Xuan Kingdom was completely destroyed by the warrior of the Hang Kingdom. Everyone thought that they had witnessed the emergence of a new genius, and the third prince's plan had failed, but they suspected that he would not retreat. Sui shouted that Xiao Chen was simply amazing. The teacher noted to herself that this guy was full of surprises. The third prince's servant, who had been secretly observing what was happening, decided that Xiao A was simply a scoundrel and hurried to report to his master. Xiao A shouted that he would still pay Xiao Chen back, and the third prince would never leave him alone. The young warrior said he would be glad to test his abilities. Sui asked how Xiao Chen planned to deal with his brother, and Xiao Chen replied that he would let him go since the Marquise's family had been treating him well recently. Then Teacher Song appeared and announced that Xiao Chen had violated the academy's rules by causing a disturbance and attacking a student. Kale began to ask for help, and Xiao Chen thought that this was another of Xiao Fan's intrigues. Master Song was informed that Xiao Chen had lost all fear and had maimed a respected disciple. Since Master Song was in charge of discipline, he had to punish the ringleader. And this time there will be no Xiao A to protect Xiao Chen. Teacher Song said that he would teach the impudent man the local rules and ordered that Xiao Chen be captured. The servants surrounded Xiao Chen, who continued to stand over his defeated enemy. The teacher intervened, saying that Xiao Chen was her student, and if anyone tried to touch him, she would make sure his fingers were cut off. Sui declared that he would fight anyone who touched his younger brother. Teacher Song was very surprised and angry that both Xiao and Sui had crossed the line of the disciplinary hall and that they would have to answer for their behavior. Teacher Zir argued that it was obvious that Xiao A had provoked his younger brother, who was simply defending himself, and that it was impossible to ignore this fact or distort the truth. Sui agreed and said that if anyone deserved to be punished, it was Xiao A. Teacher Song rejected their claims, saying that they were not enough to prove Xiao Chen's innocence. Someone from the crowd spoke up and said that they were also willing to vouch for Xiao Chen. And soon everyone began to claim that Xiao Chen was innocent. By this time, many were willing to vouch for Xiao Chen. Teacher Song realized that the situation had become complicated because Xiao Chen had so many people supporting him. He was upset, wondering why people always supported Xiao Chen and not him. Was it because he wasn't handsome enough? Xiao Chen replied that there was more support on the side of truth than on the side of lies. An angry Xiao fan said that the academy was not a place where people could do whatever they wanted and that there should always be justice. He vowed to make Xiao Chen suffer and said that no one could save him. Teacher Song told the third prince that Xiao Chen should be left alone today, but they would take revenge later. However, the third prince wanted to settle accounts with Xiao Chen immediately, offering Teacher Song the position of an elder in the academy if he immediately sorted out the situation. Teacher Song slapped his chest and declared that he was the one who should deal with Xiao Chen. Teacher Song said that the opinions of a handful of disciples were worthless, and even the emperor would not be able to help Xiao Chen escape. Everyone around was surprised how it was possible to ignore the words of the students so easily. At this moment, the vice principal appeared in the arena and declared that she was ready to vouch for Xiao Chen. Everyone was surprised by the appearance of Vice Rector Yan Qing. Teacher Song immediately bowed to the rector, offering his help. The rector stated that she was walking around the academy and witnessed a fight between brothers, but was surprised by Teacher Song's methods of maintaining justice. Teacher Song quickly tried to justify himself by claiming that the principal had misunderstood. Teacher Song was shocked that Xiao Chen had received the support of such influential people. The rector refused to listen to any more excuses and declared that Teacher Song was relieved of his duties in the disciplinary hall and would be responsible for cleaning the entire academy for 10 days. In addition, the vice principal ordered that Teacher Song be detained pending an investigation. She claimed that Xiao A had violated the academy's rules by starting a fight with his brother and ordered him to be arrested for 3 days. The servants began to carry out her orders, and a big fight started. Xiao A shouted at Xiao Chen that they weren't finished yet, and Teacher Song lamented that his greed had driven him to this point. Everyone understood that Xiao Chen was not just a lucky guy, but also a genius among geniuses. The rector arrived just in time. The third prince was very surprised that only Xiao A was punished and wondered why Xiao Chen was not punished as well. The rector stated that this was an academy, not the third prince's palace, and her decision was final. The third prince, sweating with anger, apologized to the provost. The vice principal noticed that although Xiao Chen had only just arrived, he had already caused her a lot of trouble. She decided to discipline Xiao Chen because having innate spiritual roots did not make him special. Xiao Chen smiled, looked at her, and agreed to follow the principal. Xiao Chen felt that it was impossible to punish him, but he wanted to ask the vice principal a few things. Sui warned Xiao Chen to be careful with the vice principal, saying that it was unwise to quarrel with her. Xiao Chen reassured his brother that nothing bad would happen. The mistress led Xiao Chen to the forest, and Xiao Chen obediently followed her. Everyone assumed that Vice-Chancellor Yang was unhappy with the problems Xiao Chen had caused her, but it was clear to everyone that this time Xiao Chen was innocent. Everyone knew that the Vice-Chancellor's punishments were usually severe, but they believed that Xiao Chen would not be harmed this time. The third prince muttered that Xiao Chen would not always be lucky, and that next time he would take revenge. The teacher noted that Vice Principal Yang usually did not interfere with students' affairs, but this time she decided to help Xiao Chen. Vice Principal Yang told Xiao Chen that she had already checked the area and there was no danger, and asked him to follow her into the forest. Xiao Chen expressed surprise, wondering why the principal needed such a remote place to punish him. At this moment, Vice Principal Yang called out to Xiao Chen from the bushes. Xiao Chen responded by asking what happened. Xiao Chen was surprised to see Vice-Chancellor Yang kneeling in front of him. As the vice principal of Tianlao Academy, she asked Xiao Chen to avenge her by killing the emperor of the Qin Empire, Chainan, for killing her family. Xiao Chen was shocked to hear this. Xiao Chen told Vice-Chancellor Yang that the Qin Empire was several times stronger than the Tangguan Kingdom, and that Emperor Qin Guang was the leader of the Shinan Kingdom. Xiao Chen doubted that as a mere martial artist from Han Province, he could defeat him. The vice principal stated that the last time she encountered Xiao Chen's spiritual energy, she felt a terrifying power deep within her body that seemed to come from the 9 heavens. She believed that this power would be powerful enough to instantly kill tens of thousands of Xiangantanrei masters, so she insisted that Xiao Chen could fulfill her request. Xiao Chen noted to himself that Yang Qinsha had unusual eyes. She promised to give him whatever he wanted in exchange for his help, offering him resources and information for his mission. The vice principal even offered her body to Xiao Chen, but he refused, saying that it was not necessary. Xiao Chen asked how he could enter the forbidden territory beyond Death Mountain. The vice-rector noted that many people had long dreamed of her, but Xiao Chen was not one of them. Xiao Chen concluded that according to the abbot, only the highest cultivators of the Hang realm could enter the forbidden area, and it had been like this since ancient times, and there was no way to change it. Xiao Chen entered the battle palace thinking that no one in the Hang Kingdom could defeat him. He decided to challenge all martial artists and take first place. Xiao Chen watched the fight in the ring, where the crowd cheered as Luan beat down his opponent and scored a takedown. After winning this fight, Lishan rose to third place in the list of martial artists in the Han region. Passions in the ring were running high when Luan used the Wind and Thunder Fist technique against his opponent, a deadly weapon. Everyone praised Lishan for leaving his opponent no chance. It was his 5th victory in just a few days.